when I'm thinking about political violence, like if a shooter came from my community, would I be like, that's fucking awesome and based, or would I be like horrified that a shooter came from my community to like an ice age or something? And I think I would be more on the horrified side right now. Okay, what's up?
I want to address a couple different things, and I feel like I have like two main things that I want to talk about. And I feel like they're going to overlap multiple times. So I feel like we should just lay out a couple of things that we agree on, and then we'll go from there.
Okay.
So yesterday you referred to some of this stuff. And actually, can we agree that the issues that are in the subreddit aren't just happening in the subreddit? They're also happening in the Discord.
Can you tell everybody what the issues are?
Yeah. So yesterday, I think Destiny referred to it as like kind of school vibes going on as far as how people are talking in a, I would say, well, I do say in like a radical way, in a way that makes people think that like, not just radical and like, I'm so tired of people saying like, well, Trump did radicalize me, you should be radical under Trump. I'm talking about radical as in like gonna cause violence in a way that isn't what everybody thinks it is kind of way. Like when I hear radical, I'm thinking of like somebody who is out of their mind and just like going after people like in a violent way.
Okay.
And I'm worried that that is what is happening, is that we are having people become radicalized in a way that isn't good. I think you can
We got him?
What?
Yeah. Yeah, we got him. Go ahead. Yep, people are getting radicalized. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yep, I'm listening.
Okay, so in the subreddit, I've noticed it more, but I also see it like in DGG chat. A lot of times they say like the vote.org thing, I think is like one of the like memes right now around like a way to like get around TOS kind of stuff.
A way to say that phrase again?
To like get around TOS.
No,
like,
wait, what was the
way of
phrase?
saying, like, oh, like the vote.org thing.
Oh.
I think is like a current meme in the DGG chat.
Okay. That's not good. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. I understand what you mean, though.
See, so my thing is, and I kind of have worded this a couple times. I think that we are in a misogyny arc-esque thing where things are becoming, they started as jokes, and now there's a whole lot of it, and I'm not sure if it's jokes anymore. And the more that I talk to people, the more I think it is not jokes. So I that's the main thing that I'm wanting to talk about is violent rhetoric in a way that I don't feel like is in the way that sane people, yourself, you know, are taking it. My other thing is that I just disagree with a lot of your approaches on how you think things should happen. And that's where I think like we're gonna overlap in how we talk about it. But the main thing I want to talk about is the violent rhetoric that's going on across all of DGG.
Okay.
Do you think that there is violent rhetoric like at an increasing amount within DGG?
Yeah, probably.
Do you think that it's something that is like acceptable?
Probably not. I don't think I would want like a shooter or whatever coming from my community for a variety of reasons. Yeah.
Do you think that you do things that make it to where people think that you may possibly agree with that sentiment?
Probably right now, yeah.
So like when you talk about things like, oh, and like Hutch says in Minecraft or whatever, but like you basically said like, oh, it's Fed posting time or whatever it might be. Like you do draw those lines to where people think that like if a line is crossed, and I feel like that line changes sometimes based on what it is that you're talking about, that you are like incentivizing more people to, you know, run with your talking points.
Sure.
Do you think that people run with your talking points in a way that accurately reflects what you want them to be running with, or that they probably take things to an extreme that you're not comfortable with and that you would never advocate for?
They probably take them in pretty predictable directions, I think.
Like here's a question that I'll just kind of start to dive into like what I've been seeing and the conversations that I've had with people. Like it's pretty clear that we are probably gonna win the House in 2026. Whether or not you think that that's like gonna push us in a positive direction or whatever it might be, that is a pretty clear thing that's probably gonna happen. But you would admit that there's a chance that we don't, right?
I mean, I guess there's a chance, but things that'd be really if we lose if we lose a midterm.
So like let's say all of a sudden like 10 murders happen by some illegal immigrant, and Trump is able to
find and arrest them
capitalize on
or day
that.
one or something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I like make a joke of like we're like one 12-year-old white girl away from being like raped and murdered from losing the midterms.
Okay.
Like, and I think that's a pretty solid way to put it. So I've asked people the question of like, if we knew 100% that the midterms were legitimate, but we didn't take the House, do you think at that point there is calls for that extreme stuff? And I'm gonna try to like not talk in a way that's bad for the channel.
Sure.
But I think that my having to do that furthers my argument in how serious it is of an issue that I can't even speak about it in most places. And I know like your argument is like, well, people like Trump and things like that, like they can say this stuff openly, and like I completely understand that argument. But like my argument is that people aren't taking this serious, and if they are taking it serious and they are meaning the words that they're saying and they're not joking, that is the problem.
Okay.
But everybody's not joking though.
Brian, your microphone is so quiet, it triggered me, the fact that you even spoke. Fix your shit. Okay, sorry. Also, I'm trying to go to Seed Vault because I just need to take pods from my bench. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
So that's where like my concern is that we are vastly approaching like point of no return in our own rhetoric within the community, and I think that it is being furthered by us not addressing it. So I really want to address like the fact that like in the subreddit, we're going to crack down on not just like explicit calls for violence, but also the jokes. Because the jokes have been growing, and it's only a matter of time before those jokes become things that get removed in general. And like it's becoming an issue that I'm worried that the subreddit is going to get nuked because people are not taking it seriously. And I know that it's like a cucked position to be in, but you know, we get treated in this community a lot different than what other communities get treated. And it's like people don't understand that, and they think like there's a reason why retard is banned in the subreddit, but on platform it's not an auto removal. Like when I talked to the admins about the use of retard in the subreddit, they said, well, retard's not a specifically banned word on the platform. And I said, well, when is it a banned word? And they said when you use it as a derogatory what was the exact, something along the lines of like if you say retard to somebody in a way that's meant to bring them down and be used in a derogatory fashion, that's when it's banned.
Sure.
And I don't know anybody in this community that uses the term retard without it being a derogatory way of like putting somebody down.
Yeah.
Anyway, I am just I'm kind of having a hard time like putting this all together because it's been happening more and more, and it's hard for me to like stress how much violent rhetoric is happening just in the subreddit alone. And I'm not talking about the jokes, I'm talking about people just openly talking about needing to hurt people. And like it's just being said out there about hangings and all these types of things. And like I understand that a lot of people do it in a way that is meant to like blow off steam, but like this isn't your journal. You know, like every intrusive thought that comes into your mind isn't something that needs to be shared on platforms. And like one thing that I want to warn people about is like Reddit has been cited to be turning information over to the government for things that they're not even subpoenaing. They're just openly working with the government on things that they ask for. And so like as much as you might think that you're safe on platforms like behind your anonymous username, like they are turning that information over to the government.
Okay.
And So like that alone is a reason for people to like think about couching their language. Now, another thing that we're going to start cracking down on, anybody who does not live in the United States, and if you start saying things that make it sound like you are in the US, you use the term we have tried this, we have tried that, you are going to be nuked off the platform for not saying that you're Canadian, Israeli, from Denmark, anywhere in the EU, anywhere that you are going to get nuked off the subreddit, because I'm so tired of people speaking about things that they can speak about. You can have an opinion in the subreddit as somebody who lives anywhere in the world, but stop representing yourself as an American. Say, as this person, you guys should be doing this. I'm so sick. I had a whole conversation with somebody talking about how they said that we aren't doing, we've already protested, we've already done this, it's only so it's the only risk that, or the only thing that we should do now is TOS stuff. And then you go into their user profile and they're a fucking Canadian. This shit is just going to get nuked and you're never going to come back, because you might as well be a Russian trying to interfere in our shit. So that's another thing that's going to start to happen, is that people that aren't American, that are representing themselves as such, you're going to get nuked. Now, I have a couple of things as far as...
I will continue to say we.
Mooten, you are an American. Okay?
That's right. God damn it.
So, in spirit, but he's the only exception. But you actually don't post stuff like that about what I'm talking about, so it's okay. My other contention is that yourself included, people that are talking about these like things and next steps that they want to do are not doing as much as they could be doing. You are doing a lot more than most people are, and so you're like the least bit of my worry. But a lot of the worry that I have is that people are literally doing absolutely nothing and only talking about, well, what happens when like things pop off. And I think that that's a crazy state to be in, that we act as if things have been protested. And I actually, in your conversation with Hutch yesterday, you talked about there needing to be more protesting and people doing civil disobedience and things like that. And that's my point. I think that should be more of a focus when we're talking about these things, is talking about the things that we're not doing right now. Like, you would admit that right now there should be like hundreds or thousands times more protests than there currently are, right?
It's hard to take a position of like there should be less protests, but I mean, I'm pretty sure if you check, like 9 out of 10 of the largest protests in all of U.S. history have happened under this administration. So I feel like we've protested quite a bit. I feel like there's been a lot of protesting.
Yeah, but like a single day, like that's the thing, is like,
I wouldn't disagree with you in principle. I feel like people just need to find maybe a more effective... I like the idea of doing like targeted industry strikes and then mutual aid to like support the people who end up not working or something like that.
What do you mean by targeted industry strikes?
Like, I think it would be interesting to do a giant GoFundMe for like every single person that works at an airport, and then have like the entirety of the airport industry strike.
Take a day off or
no,
week?
Strike indefinitely until some condition is met. But then you are raising enough money to try to compensate these people to some extent or whatever, so that they can sustain it, so that they don't have to just be waited out by the Trump admin or whatever. But it would have to be in exchange for some kind of direct ask.
Aren't those specific people forced to work because they're like federal employees or whatever?
Not federal employees. I do think there are some industries that it's illegal to strike in, but who cares? Fuck.
Got it. I understand.
Yeah. So, like I agree that like large protests have happened and things like that. Like, one of the things that I feel like you've said multiple times is like, all that the protest kind of gets you is back to like your, I guess, like neutral position. So like in Minnesota, like all of this shit happens and then they protest and ICE goes out from Minnesota, but you're only fighting back to like your neutral position at best. You're never like going past that.
Okay.
Is that kind of one thing that you've said about protests or something along those lines, or am I mischaracterizing?
For Minnesota, a little bit. I mean, I try to be careful in this position because I think that the Minnesotans did a really great job in getting ICE to leave. But I think it's sad that basically the feds showed up to your state, murdered 2 citizens, you protested, and then they left. And it's like, Jesus, like that's like the victory. We
won.
Yeah, that's like very.
Yeah.
like we've been conditioned right now, especially with the current regime, and I think you see it a lot in my conversation with Hutch and in my conversation with Connor, where because it's the executive, we've been conditioned to accept that having somebody tell you, hey, what you just did was really wrong and illegal, and then them going, okay, I guess I won't do that thing again. And then having like those types of things happen over and over again, that's like an acceptable thing. That's just very sad to me. But I'm not trying to take away from what happened in Minnesota. I think, again, that was great and everything, but yeah.
But you would agree that like that's obviously a super effective way to like stem what is happening.
Like no, I don't think I would agree with that. What do you mean?
Well, like what had happened in Minnesota, like if people hadn't protested, it would have probably continued, right?
Yeah, probably, yeah. But I mean, 2 people at least were murdered by feds that were then covered for by the federal government and shipped out of the state to safety. Like, so when we say an effective way to stop that, like, is it? I think that's.
But that's the other, like, one thing that we will admit that although 2 people dying is like tragic, like that. You would think that there would be more protests and more things happening in the current climate, right? Like there would be more people. Like let's just take like the example of all of the court orders that you've read that people are denying. When we were reading this shit about the lady who was like, if you just hold me in contempt, I'll get like 24 hours of sleep or whatever it was that she said. Like people should be protesting like the facilities that these people are being shipped off to, like in Texas, I think there's like multiple areas that they're shipping these people off to. Like, why are there not mass?
Sure. I mean, although, I mean, like realistically, like people aren't necessarily aware of every single thing going on, and it's hard for the average American to be protesting every single thing. And I don't like I said, like 9 of the 10 largest protests in all of U.S. history have happened under this administration. Like, I feel like Americans are doing a decent job when it comes to showing up civilly right now.
So, do you
one of
think
the things
our
like
leaders are Oh, yeah, go on.
I just want to address what you just said, where like people have to work. And so like one of the things that I have an issue with is people being like so gung-ho to talk about like the insane steps to take, and then they're like, but we can't do anything right now because I have bills to pay. And it's like, you think that if shit pops off that the bills that you're worried about right now are like going to be your biggest worry? Like, I think right now you should take a little bit of financial hit to avoid the insane issue that you have. Like, I think it's a cop out when people say that, but they're literally just plotting for the time to pop off instead of like the infinite amount of things that you could do before that.
Yeah, but I think we're all still indexed on it being a pretty low chance of it actually getting to that point of things. Like actually.
I don't know. You are wrong then.
Okay.
That's not the sentiment in the community, is that it's a very low chance of things happening like that. People in the community believe it's an inevitability that there will be violence.
Sure, I'm saying that the people that are claiming that they can't protest because of work-related stuff or whatever, I don't know if those people are the same ones saying that the chance of violence happening is like super, super, super high. That feels like a younger, my guess is it's going to be a younger, more online opinion than a real life, like I can't stop working because I'm my job. And also that's a really high burden to place on somebody, that they need to be making big material sacrifices or medium material sacrifices for an outcome that they don't even know how much support they're going to get nationally for said thing. Like, I don't know.
I mean,
I agree.
I think this will move to my point of like,
that.
do you think our leaders then, Hobbit/Steve, are failing us in the fact that like, I don't know, like Gavin Newsom, I guess he is still the governor of California, but I feel like bigger people could be out there leading huge movements of like, hey, ICE is doing this really bad thing. We should be meeting this day here at this place, kind of like Trump did for like January 6th. Again, I'm not calling for like at January 6th or whatever, but like at these places, like they should be like meeting and all that.
I mean, they have kind of been doing this though, right? Like how many we've seen?
I guess the No Kings protest, sure.
Well, we saw what was it? Wasn't it it was a Congress, a federal senator. Weren't they arrested in California for showing up at Kristi Noem press conference? I don't think they got like actually like arrested and indicted or whatever, but didn't they get arrested, taken away by the cops?
Are you talking about Alexander Padilla?
Yes, that sounds right. Yeah.
Or
go on.
Yeah, he showed up. Yeah, he got basically drug out of there, but it's him. But
we saw the Texas lawmakers literally flee the state to avoid that quorum requirement for the Texas redistricting thing, and then once they came back, some of them were literally locked in the state assembly room or state Congress or whatever until they could.
Yeah, this is nice, but I don't think it's like allowing the average person, not allowing, I guess it's not incentivizing the average person to come out with them, right? And like getting like huge crowds. I think that's maybe a problem we're having is like the average person doesn't quote unquote know what to do right now and they have to wait around for the next No Kings protest.
This is the difficult thing that we don't have like a mental template for that makes it so difficult, okay? And every single movie and every single thing that we think about, maybe this is even true historically in real life. When you think about like uprising against like a vicious authoritarian whatever thing, it's usually us versus them, and us is the smaller guy who vastly outnumbers them. We just need a little bit of unity, and they are like the bourgeois, the powerful, the evil, or whatever. But the problem is that this administration is there by popular support of half the country, and that it makes things so different. Like, because all the times that we complain about, like, doesn't it feel like our leaders are weak and can't do anything? It's like, well, they shouldn't be able to do anything. They don't have a majority in either half of Congress. We don't even have the Supreme Court. And the president of the United States won on the Republican side, literally by the popular vote. Not that that necessarily matters. But, like, why would we expect our leaders to be able to do anything? They shouldn't be able to do anything because the American public granted them through authority of the elections to do whatever the fuck they wanted, basically.
Sure, but I'm not asking them to do anything like congressionally because I understand that we don't have the power for that. I'm asking them more to like, let's start setting up like some like rallies.
Oh yeah,
like,
but here's the thing.
Like the ICE thing.
Here's the thing though for that is I firmly believe that one of the biggest mistakes that we've made and one of the biggest issues we've had with our movements over the past 3 decades is we just don't have a concrete ask. And that's why all of these things fall apart and they feel so hopeless. So like, what is like for Occupy Wall Street, right? Like, what was the ask? It was vague, like corporations aren't people, whatever.
Yeah.
That was it.
I think the ICE one's easy.
What is the ask?
I think your ask could be like, we need to abolish ICE and we need to rework it.
You could make that ask, but I don't know realistically if this...
If like the average person jumps on it?
One, I don't know if the average person jumps on it because the messaging on that already got fucked from lefties 4 years ago. And also I don't know if even in the strongest version of that argument, I'm not sure... I'm sure you get a lot of people to protest for it. I don't know in terms of how the American public would go. I don't know if any elections would be decided by what political stances politicians take on it. Therefore, I don't know if that actually amounts to any kind of change. Just to be clear, I don't disagree with especially the abolish ICE sentiment, but I think that if we could protest, I think that if you could have, like, my guess is going to be in Minnesota, if you were to try to get people to go out to protest, my guess is going to be that you could rally a ton of energized protesters because ICE came to their state and they killed 2 people, and Minnesotans were like, this is bullshit. We want ICE to leave. They went out and they protested, and ICE left. Like, it was a very clear demand, and they got the fuck out of the state, and they're energized from that, right? But we've gotten so many, like, and again, I don't want to take away anything from like the No Kings protest. Like, I don't even know actually. What was the point of that protest? Like, it was a historically huge one, but I don't think there were any asks or demands.
I think it's just say like in America, there's no like concrete like demand. It's just like saying like we don't have a king. But I guess with specifically with the ICE one in Minnesota, why was Waltz not out there like leading the movement? I understand he's like the governor and everybody's we need to keep it separate, blah blah blah. But like the governor or the mayor should have been out there on the forefront, like, and got a march going.
Didn't he step down?
Didn't who?
He didn't step down. He's just not running for re-election.
Yeah, but that was for
It seems like he was trying to like step out of the limelight. Like...
Oh, maybe. Also, your mic is still super quiet. You cuck piece of shit.
Your mic's super quiet. But like these. Wait,
real quick. Wasn't the mayor? I forget the fucking guy's name. Was the mayor not out on the street sometimes doing speeches?
I never saw him out on the street like leading a rally. I only saw him like in a in like a Congress box like talking to people. I didn't see him out there personally. He might have visited the memorial.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a true thing. Like when you saw like like the Great March of Return when Hamas was sending people to go to the walls and everything. Like Sinwar was out there. You saw, that's how you knew Hamas was involved. You literally see a lot of the Hamas leadership out there walking amongst some of the people. I don't know. Maybe we need to have. I shouldn't make the comparison to terrorists, but. It might also be that like in terms of what our politicians are feeling right now on the left is that we have politicians and we have activists, and those two things are very separate, but Republicans have obviously merged those things. Maybe we need to get our politicians a little bit more on board with protesting like that.
What if we just got our activists to actually do stuff like I had a conversation with Hutch while you were gone, and one of the things that like I think is kind of wrong is that we have a lot of like liberal commentators and like political people online like yourself, Brian Tyler Cohen, Josiah, Hutch, even smaller like Pisco, You know, you have these people that really are like pointing at the incidents happening and like informing people of stuff, but like, do you not think that there's like any like duty by anybody that are on like the online left to like put themselves out there in these things? Like not in the way like what Hassan is doing. Like Hassan is a fucking like LARPer. Like I think Hassan is a LARPer.
I think there's some obligation to, yeah, for sure. I would say, yeah.
Like why would a streamer? I don't know. Just to me, why would a streamer that has a certain amount of viewers that is like pointing out these things that might not be on people's radar, whether it's people being, you know, shipped off and held at some facility in Austin or whatever it is, why is that streamer not going to that facility, live streaming themselves being arrested or whatever, doing the civil disobedience stuff when they're able to do the things that people that are at work can't do? They can simultaneously be bringing more eyes onto it and also be able to afford what's going on after it, and then like draw more and more people to do those things. Like I feel like there's nobody that's really doing that. You know, we had like the protests in Portland over like
I feel like the big
stuff.
issue, I feel like one of the big issues is that just for whatever reasons you can get into or not get into, is that like there's no unity on the left, so it's hard to get anybody on board with like any of this. Like if you think about J6, how many different, like it was like I don't know, would you say like hero units or like Lord of the Rings? Like when you were looking at all the videos and everything, how many knowable Republican figures, conservative figures were out there all unified together in that movement? You had Nick Fuentes shouting and giving speeches. You had Alex Jones that was walking. You had like so many different InfoWars guys. You had like different political, I think right before, I think it was on January 6th, that somewhere outside, or maybe it was the day before, the senators that were saying that they were going to help obstruct the vote. Like you had like this huge collaboration from the top down. Like meanwhile, I don't even know what collective group of left-leaning political streamers, like nobody can even work together. Like Hassan goes out and starts shitting on Democrats. Vosh says he never wants to fucking leave the house. If I go out and do anything, I have to give like 50 million hedges to every single person I work with, because I know that if they're even seen with me, there's going to be 50 million people saying that they're like a collaborator. Like there's like no unity anywhere where you can get a bunch of left-leaning people to go together. Like what you're saying is like my wet dream fantasy. Like theoretically, like it would have been amazing to have like Hassan, Vosh, Destiny, and maybe like 2 or 3 other large like YouTube creators to like call for like a huge group streamer, whatever, protest at like the Alligator Alcatraz place in Florida or whatever. That like a movement like that could get easily just on fans, like 1,000+ people to show up. And then if you collaborate with anybody in the city, locally, anybody else that organizes protests or marches, you could get, I'm sure you get tons of people for that. And you'd have lots of media coverage and you'd have lots of eyes on it. But we're totally incapable of doing that right now on the left. We just don't have that unity, which is really annoying.
I feel like on the left / specifically in Congress, it feels like a lot of them are streamers who just don't want to interact with their community right now. And like when I think back to like my history books or whatever, it's like MLK is like leading people through marches. Malcolm X or whatever, for what he was worth, I guess, was like also doing like
they're
civil
not elected representatives. Like we shouldn't be looking towards our elected representatives to be doing what. Like I understand what Destiny said, like where like they've kind of merged their activists and their political people together on the right. Like I do understand that, but like we don't even have anybody like leading a charge regardless on the political side or on the activist side. We just have people looking at the problem and talking about the problem over and over that have this immense amount of power that are doing nothing with it on both the political side and on the activist side. And I think that's a failing on both the political side and the activist side. Like the fact that we don't have somebody that's like MLK, like somebody's going to say like, oh, well, what you actually don't know is that MLK was known way before the civil rights movement. And this, that, and it's like, the point is that we don't have anybody and we're looking for people to step up. But
well,
like,
I don't think we are. Nobody's looking for people to step up, because there's not even agreement on, there's not agreement on anything. There's not agreement on what the problem is. This is one of the reasons why I said I'm irritated by like the whole Epstein shit, because everybody that's super bought into the Epstein stuff is going to both sides it. Like, I don't know if we have Like when you start, especially the more that you get into the activist group of people, you're probably getting even further away from the broad electorate. This is one of the reasons why the politicians on the right being connected to the activist class, I think, helps them so much. Was it Joe Rogan or was it Charlie? What political right-wing figure that I hear on their show literally say, like, oh yeah, like I talk to Trump like every few days or whatever on the phone.
That was Charlie Kirk.
That was Charlie Kirk, yeah. But I feel like I heard another person say this too. I'm like, how many motherfuckers is this person talking to? Like, when you know that you have the support from those people, like, not only are your marches supported politically, but like you also know that you have like the eyes and the ears of the voters as well, because you're in collaboration with the political class, like the people that are elected and do things. Whereas like for our most activist people on the left, I don't even think they support the Democratic Party at all. And then it's just a ton of infighting. And then none of the influencers give a fuck about like any political shit because they just do like online stuff. And then that's,
well, like the call out should be like the call out, like a lot of lefties right now are like, well, why are you looking at us when you should be going after Trump or whatever it is? And it's like, but they're not going after Trump. Like they're all, everybody's buck stops at the computer screen, and that's for like the community as well as the people who talk about all the problems. I just don't know.
I just don't know. I'm curious, like, what in your mind, what would an ideal like first few steps look like?
I would think that multiple people that have clout and influence and the ability to get a message out should be out there, like on the front lines, like making content out of what used to be like something that would maybe get written in the paper.
Sure, but like who specifically?
I said like you, Josiah, Brian Tyler Cohen, like these people that have like vast.
So I don't know.
Range.
Josiah's probably still scared of even doing content with me. I don't know if BTC will go anywhere near me right now publicly, as long as I'm still in court, have my adjudicated.
But my question to you, Can I just ask a question real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Do you think that if you went out and let's take Alligator Alcatraz, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say that was still going on and you were like, fuck it, I can't not do something. Like I need to go out there and I need to do it. And you live streamed yourself getting arrested over something. You think that those people are just going to like not, like they're just going to ignore it?
I think they might make a YouTube video slightly covering it, but like, my YouTube channel made over $1 million a year, and it got demonetized because of a clip that went live on Jesse Waters and was rebroadcasted by, the president's son and some people from Congress. I don't think anybody even mentioned it, right? That could be one of the largest, like, not to hype my own shit up, but that could be one of the largest potential like cash infusion sources, at least for anybody in the online left, just completely wiped away from nowhere, and nobody gave a fuck. So it's like, do I think that people would care if I got arrested? They might make like a 5-minute segment on it, but otherwise, I don't know, probably not.
They'd probably laugh at you, to be honest.
But yeah, because a lot of them, literally a lot of them, yeah, that would be my biggest fear from a selfish perspective, is that I know that if I go out and die, Hassan and Mike from PA and Denims are going to be making a stream about how I can't believe they killed one of their own. This Gusano just got wasted by the same Trump administration that he's been standing for years. Yeah. Like, that's probably what they would say.
It wouldn't be like you're out there doing good. It's like, oh, LOL, he's dead.
Yeah. Like, look at how much, like, even all my canvassing shit and everything literally gets dunked on by these guys, saying that it's just I only do it for clout and it's a waste of time. Or something that's even more disgusting.
Unfuck America?
No, there's that. But like, look at how many people shit on Dylan and call him like a fucking war tourist and shit, including Hassan, right? Like, that's insane. So no, actually, I don't know. I don't know if there would be any of that support on the left for people that would actually go out and do stuff like that. I'm not sure.
But so like you would admit that like the reason that like the Renee Good and the Alex Pretty stuff happened was because it like got out to a bigger audience than just like the online left people, right? Like normal people saw them get killed and thought that it was wrong.
Sure.
Yeah, the online left wouldn't give a fuck. Or I mean, I don't think they'd be out there doing anything.
So like my thing, I'm not saying that you need to go out and get like that's not what I'm saying, but like I think that the idea that we should not be pushing to do more things.
I never said. Wait, hold on. Wait. To be clear, I didn't say we shouldn't be pushing to do more things. And I think that the Alex Petty and the Renee Good stuff is good. It did get out to a normal audience. But I'm just like, the more particular ask that you were making was like online content creators going out and doing stuff and kind of like leveraging their audience or whatever, which is the thing that I 1 trillion % agree with. But like. Unless maybe I'll rediscover more, I guess, motivation to reach out again and again over after my lawsuit or whatever is over. But like I've made the first step on that like so many times, And
yeah, I'm not saying that you're doing something wrong.
No,
I'm not.
Hold on. You're not gonna FM me or whatever. Don't worry. I'm not saying you're even saying I'm doing anything wrong. But I'm saying that, like, for instance, like, me and Vosh could be making content together, very easily, right? I tried to do that one event where, you know, it was me, him, and Emma Vigeland. Well, to be fair, that wasn't like my event. It was something that was whatever Brianna was working with. Like, they did that. But like, even at that event, like, it was kind of, the conversations were a little bit awkward. You had Emma Vigeland saying that, like, online content creators don't matter anyway. Like, it just, for some reason, like, nobody in this space wants to actually do anything on the left when it comes to real life advocacy. There's just no appetite for it from any of the other creators, which I think is incredibly sad. Like, people make fun of me, or people always attack me, you know, when I suck off like Nick Fuentes or Lauren Southern, because I always give them so much credit. And I've said this a million times, like, these are people with much smaller budgets who were, you know, for Lauren Southern, you know, was so inspirational. She got a dude in New Zealand to shoot up a mosque and kill 60 people, right? Or for Nick Fuentes, right? He had his whole AFPAC thing, and he's banned from how many different financial platforms and everything else, right? Like, these are people with much smaller resource pools going out and doing so many more things. Meanwhile, you have, like, literally Tombs of Scoria, Dragon wealth hoarding Hassan doing nothing except posting pathetic emo clips on Twitter begging Gavin Newsom for an interview, and then Vosh, who says he's too autistic to ever leave his house. And then there's a bunch of, like, liberal media guys, and I'm glad that they exist now and they're getting more powerful, but they don't really collaborate or do anything in the real world outside of just, like, interviews. Like, it just seems, I don't know why, but on the left, like,
that's what I was saying. I think it's a failing on their part.
I agree with that. I don't know how to push that collaborative thing. Like, I understand why it's so scary for any of them to do it, because you're going to be getting hit from your own side, like, a million different ways every single time you walk out and do anything. Like, it's kind of retreading the complaints that I'm sure Kamala and her campaign had when it came time to them having to do a podcast or whatever. I guess I'm agreeing with you. I guess when I ask you, in one ways, I'm asking, like, I guess what is something I could do in particular? Because I'm looking for those things. But then also, like, it just feels like more broadly, the left-wing or left-leaning ecosystem just doesn't support any of this kind of activity. And it's very sad, I guess.
Like, my main contention is, like, I think that you admitting that not enough is being done on the side of things that I'm talking about, like, I feel like this is the most on your stream that this has been talked about in ever. I feel like I think I've spoken about this
like 50 times.
Yeah, I've spoken about this quite a bit. Maybe not quite in the same terms, but that I'm very disappointed that there's so much money that flows through a lot of, like, left-wing stuff.
No, I know that part.
But none of it comes out anywhere. Okay.
I'm saying my contention is that people aren't doing enough right now, and all that's being talked about is the extreme ends of what it is that's happening. And so I don't think that there's been much talk about, like, yeah, the protests are big, and, like, yeah, a single-day protest is awesome, but it accomplishes almost nothing. And the sad part is that, like, at the beginning of the Trump administration, people were calling for, like, general strikes and things like that, and it was kind of like a LARPing, like, nothing thing to be suggesting, because there was really no goal.
Your mic's good, like, it's all good.
You would agree that you would go for a general strike before you would go for anybody taking up arms against the country, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, you would say that that's always
the arms
going
or
to
violent
be a
stuff should always be, like, the very last stop, right? Or close to the last stop, yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people believe that we are already past that. And so when I interact with people and they're like, well, we have been protesting, it's like, kind of, but not really.
I mean, we had no kings. We have people at ICE facilities.
Yeah, but again, they're literally nobody knows what those are for whatsoever. You don't. The Minnesota protests had a point. The point was to get ICE out of Minnesota in the way that they were doing, and they were effective. Okay, they had a lot of media coverage.
I'm hacking.
People died, and people watched what was happening and said, like, that's wrong. And so the overall appeal of them continuing to do those things in Minnesota drew them back.
Yeah.
I mean, they were effective, but 2 people died, and they're.
Oh no! Wait.
Get...
Well, fuck. What kind of mic are you using?
Are you talking to me?
No, prying. He's talking. It's just still so quiet. I don't even know if he's changing the right mic settings.
I'm using an SM58.
Of course you are.
It's dog shit.
Buy a cloud lifter.
Dog shit.
Okay. Or get a way better interface.
I don't have enough gain or whatever the fuck. I don't know the mic shit.
It's all good. Okay.
I can plug,
oh my god, it's an audio. It's an audio problem.
It always is. No, that's okay.
And so my issue is that although those things are, like, even you giving like we've already had these like really 9 out of the last 10 protests are under Trump and blah blah blah. It's like that's true, but like it's not to the like that's giving more. You're lending like credence to the idea that we've already gone past that step and it's not working. And what I'm saying is like we are so far back from where people believe that we are, and that's what we should be talking about more. And so, like, I have people that are telling me, like, we've tried protesting and look at what's happened. 2 people have died. And it's like, that's really bad. That is super bad.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, this is like when Hutch was talking about the civil rights movement, it's like, we do have people, like, getting maced and stuff. Like, it's bad. But, like, the civil rights movement had, like, mass injuries and people, like, being arrested en masse. And we aren't having that right now. Like you would admit that we aren't having people are being arrested.
Well, immigrants maybe, but
yeah.
No, yeah, there's an issue, but like I think the big issue again is I think the big issue again is that we just don't have that like the civil rights asks were relatively easy to understand, right? Like I'm not sure there was like esoteric like we don't want the 3/5 compromise, we want the 2.7898. Well, I'm not.
Better?
I'm saying that sure. I'm saying that it's just difficult because we don't have any agreement on like what it is we're asking for, and then it doesn't seem like we have any agreement on what the leadership should look like for the person making the asks. We just don't have a good activist class right now on the left.
I would agree, and I think that is something that we should be talking about more than, hey, because we don't have an activist class, let's just continue to let things get worse and worse and worse. And people keep asking me like, well, where's the line that you draw? And my line is like, after we've done civil disobedience and it's met by the state with like mass casualty events, basically, of where like it doesn't matter what we're doing, whether it's a sit-in or a protest, the government is like cracking down. Like that's when you've exhausted your options, right? Like you've tried absolutely everything that you can do, and people are like, well, we've already done that. And it's like, well, no, we haven't. Like that's where like it's unfortunate that Pretty and Good have died, you know, in these protests, but like it's nowhere near an acceptable amount that people should be like. I see people as like frothing at the mouth to get to that next step, and it seems like people are, whether it's violence in the way that I'm talking about, where you know it's just like civil war, or my other thing is that I think people have gotten to the point where if people don't get, we can't even talk about it after this administration is gone, that it is unacceptable. And so like where it started out, and I think me and you had a conversation, and then that's when Zip pumped in. You were originally talking about like jailing people. I don't think people are getting further than that. And so like we are just going down a more and more extreme.
Yeah, I don't
pathway.
disagree. Shit is right now. Yeah. What is the? But there has to be an answer besides like, well, let's just like pretend everything is cool and chill, and like that'll be way better.
I never said that.
No, yeah, I know, but well, I understand that like we're going down a bad path. You reiterated this a lot. What is the, like, what is the next, like, what is the next step?
What's
or
the
I guess
step?
what do we? Yeah. People shouldn't do as much, and there's more. There's more that we have to exhaust.
People need to be doing more.
Yeah, I know, but like that's the equivalent of like how do I finally impress this girl? And it's like, be yourself. And it's like, okay, well, fuck me. If that was the answer, then
Shrimple ass.
shrimple ass. It would already be done, right? But like we have an activist class that, if it exists at all, it's captured by far lefties who hate the fucking party. For the little bit of like political engagement we're getting from the left, it's to literally go and talk to people again that hate the fucking party, right? Even the center lefters that we have are too politically retarded to understand the moment we're in. So like all the dipshits that wrote speeches for Obama that do Pod Save America, right, are, you know, having basically people that hate the Democratic Party cycling through their program and not understanding what's going on, or your Jennifer Welches and all these people that are, it's just like, I don't know what the, like they're
I mean, I got an idea, I guess.
Sure.
I think like the best thing to do, and you might laugh, but genuinely,
I'm laughing.
It would be to like get a community to email a certain congressman or woman to like lead a movement of like, and it needs to be like for something. So we would have to figure out, what do we want to change? What is like easy to understand? And then it would be like, okay, well, let's get someone who's actually in political power to lead said movement.
I don't think that that's
can
necessarily.
Can I address something real quick that just keeps getting said in chat?
Sure.
By Gabicles. I don't know who it is, but they,
One guy.
yeah, I am getting one guide. They assume that all of my positions on this are because my dad is a Republican, and that's not the case. They think that like everything that I hinge my entire beliefs are on the fact that I don't want my dad to get hurt, and like I think that's just a stupid way to go about things. And this is my issue, is that every time I try to like address something, people think that I have like some ulterior motive on what it is that I'm trying to do. And like that's just not the case. I think that it's wrong that so many people are talking about violence in a way that I think is like when I say insane, like I think like if you're okay with talking about violence in the amount that you are, there's something wrong with you.
Okay.
And it's not people that are joking. And so like I don't know how to say this without it like sounding soy, and I have to couch my language because of the platform that we're on. But like I think people believe that because they are of sane mind, that the people that I'm talking about are also of sane mind, and they're not of sane mind. I've talked to many people now that truly believe that the only way that we're going to get out of this is if people die.
Sure.
And like, can we just admit that that's not the only way that we can get out of this? In fact,
Yeah, we've said that.
We should try to avoid that. Yeah, but like, people believe that Destiny thinks that that's what that's what.
I mean,
needs
it depends.
to
Like,
happen,
I think that we can change
issue.
our political system without mass violence. I'm not gonna say like more people will die. They're dying every day from old age. No, I'm sorry. But like, I mean, like, whether I understand that that's me. I'm not gonna say that. I know that you care about other people, but like the USA shit is gone. This is millions of lives gone. You know, the joking of the murdering of Venezuelans out in boats that I'm pretty sure, unless Congress changed their position on this, the administration never showed compelling evidence that these people were involved in any kind of like actual illegal drug trade or anything. And even if that was the case, that wouldn't give you the right to just murder them for a country that you're not at war with. You know, you've got Preddy and you've got Renee, but like, you've also got like people that have been deported from this country who either will never come back or should have never been deported, whose lives are being harmed. Like, these are all things that are happening. And when you say like, well, we can get there without any violence, like what you mean to say, and I'll clarify, and I'm not trying to bad faith you or whatever, but like what you mean to say is that like we can get back ideally without like there being any kind of organized violence on our side, which I think is true. I do agree with that. But don't say without violence at all, because like the current administration is like fully engaged in violent activity on a daily basis against us and other countries, and they thrive in it, they love it, they revel in it.
But you've been talking about a tit for tat strategy nonstop, so you could see how if that is what your general like point is, that you're going across, that people will just take that and brush it across the board. So when you're saying like Alex Preddy and Renee Good were killed and that's violence, they are seeing a tit for tat that something needs to happen in turn because of that. And they're like, do you
I'm not saying that
that's
like
what they're taking from it?
I don't want that to be the case, and I do clarify, like, I don't want this country to head in the direction of political violence. One of the reasons why, and you brought this to my attention and made me think about it more, because I probably wouldn't have said anything otherwise, but like I don't think right now, like when I try to think of political violence, it's just so crazy, but I think of everything from the perspective of a streamer. Like if I'm making like a decision, I'm thinking like, how would my chat react if this happened, you know? Or when I'm thinking about political violence, like if a shooter came from my community, would I be like, that's f***ing awesome and based, or would I be like horrified that a shooter came from my community to kill like an Ice Age or something? And I think I would be more on the horrified side right now. So I'm like, okay, well, we probably need to curb the stuff in the subreddit, because I don't think I would want this coming from my community. But like, here is like I just don't know how to put this into words. If Alex or Renee was somebody that I knew or a family member, and somebody told me that we're moving on to the next administration and the two officers involved will never even be investigated, let alone charged with a crime, but that's just something you're going to have to live with. Like that's an unfathomable position to me. And I don't know how you get that person to like engage with democratic society anymore. That's just like, it's beyond the pale. And this isn't even,
that's the radicalizing though, right? Like it's like when you're basically saying like, if somebody is a certain amount of closeness or takes that a certain amount away, like it's hard to turn them away from that. And like, I agree with that. And like, I guess that's kind of my issue, is that people are not next to that. And like, every time I try to talk about this kind of stuff, people think of it as like I'm not taking it seriously. And like I communicated to the mod team. I think I communicated to I don't know if it's publicly known as far as like who our manager is basically in DGG, but like I communicated that like I had to watch that video like 55 times because of moderating. And when people would post something, I would have to watch the video to make sure that it was like some legitimate thing and not some AI post or whatever it might be. And like, I understand why people feel like they're being radicalized, but like, I don't know. I just keep circling back to this. I don't think that people understand how radicalized people are getting. Like, I've had conversations with people that say like that the only way that this is going to be better is if people hang and shit. And like, that's just a crazy way to go through this. And that's why, like I was saying, I disagree with a lot of the stuff that you're talking about with Hutch. And I think that Hutch has a bad way of communicating his stuff to where it just seems like a business as usual thing. So maybe we can pivot to that and I can talk to you about that. Because I don't know how to put into words that like it is very serious that everything that's happening, but we also it should be very serious that we are not talking about hurting people no matter how much we hate them.
Sure.
So like one of the things that Hutch was talking to you about yesterday was like congressional committees, and like that's where we should be putting like a lot of our when you're talking about investigations into people, and you said that was kind of like a business as usual thing. That's not any different. I think at one point you said like we need to make them into Hunter Bidens.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that just congressional investigations in general aren't sufficient, or do you think that like how
you have to
is it
match
that
the
you
asymmetry that
do you think that the Republican Congress was investigating Hunter Biden as much as they were because they legitimately thought that there were crimes there to be investigated?
It's because his name was Biden.
Yes.
No, I understand that, but I guess what I'm asking you is why do you think that we need to like make stuff up? Like, why can't we just use a congressional?
Because most of what they're doing
okay,
probably
but we don't
isn't.
have to.
Most
we
of what
don't
they're
have
doing,
to,
no, we do, because most of what they're doing is strictly speaking probably not illegal.
You think that like defying like court orders and things like that aren't illegal, and that we can't find like information about them like
you can't retroactively
not
like,
if it's not enforced.
Yeah, you can't retroactively arrest somebody for defying a court order if the court didn't like issue, you know, a warrant or decided not to hold somebody in contempt or whatever.
Yeah. So the thing that I'm basing like what I think that is getting lost on this is like the Congress can go pretty deep into people and can find, you know, the thing is like if things get pardoned all the way, like this is where like Congress can start to subpoena people and start to hold people accountable and in ways that like that get past the pardon without having to take like an extrajudicial mean, which I think is like where you are believing that that's like the only way that we can do things, really.
I mean, I don't think you're gonna get. I don't think you're gonna get where you want to go. We're looping. We're gonna loop on this conversation. I think we just fundamentally disagree here. I don't think we're gonna. No, we don't agree. No, we don't agree. We don't agree. I think that the other side still thinks that the other side still believes that Republicans are just working with Congress, and then if we just work with Congress, we do all the things that Congress is supposed to do, that like it's the same thing. But I don't know how to. I failed, I think, in communicating the extent to the norm violating shit that the other side is engaged in for years and years and years and years and years. I think I've just failed to communicate that effectively.
Except for like I understand that stuff. So I guess my question, and we were talking to Connor earlier, and you were saying that
you understand. Hold on.
Like
you understand that like for the investigations for Hunter Biden, that was not done in a good faith adherence to the law kind of way.
I completely understand that.
Okay. So if we wanted to do something similar to what they do with Hunter Biden, we would have to act in a way that is not in adherence with the good faith that is not with good faith adherence to the law.
Sure, but the reason that they had to do that with Hunter Biden is because Hunter Biden didn't do anything wrong, whereas they are doing things that are wrong.
Like what?
So we don't need to fabricate something. Defying the court orders, doing things.
You can't arrest somebody or subpoena somebody for defying a court order. That's up to the court to enforce. That's what the U.S. Marshals are there for the federal court system. You can't investigate somebody because they defied a court order. That's the thing that you have hearings on in court, and then the judge decides if they want to hold you in contempt or not.
But you can invest. That's the thing, is that the Congress has broad authority to subpoena people. Basically, all you have to say is that you're subpoenaing them over a legislative purpose. So your legislative purpose could be like, oh, well, we're wondering if there should be this thing put into law that DHS can't do this, this, and this. So we're going to subpoena Kristi Noem, everybody that's all underneath them, and then they can basically do whatever they want after that because the legislative purpose is met.
Well, sure, but then you are doing the Hunter Biden thing to them, right? Which was my position. So I don't know what we disagree.
Yeah.
On.
So, but you're not. But they are doing things that are wrong. Whereas that's where, like, I feel like you are trying to figure out what we need to do out of the bounds of what the norm is.
Well, but what you're talking about would be
norm.
wrong. That's not a norm. The norm is not to fabricate. What you're talking about is, I keep using this term pretextual. If we're using a violation of a court order to go on a fishing expedition, that's not a good faith adherence to the law, which is what you're saying we should do, which I agree we should do, but that's not a good faith adherence to the law. I don't want Congress to normally go on fishing expeditions for everybody because they happen to violate a court order or something. I don't even know if you could go on fishing expeditions because usually the people that are quote unquote violating court orders are going to be your frontline prosecutors or the people in charge of communicating back and forth, I think.
Well, I think that's where like these judges are starting to write things in their rulings that are talking about, or, you know, when they're in court saying like, do I need to call this head person into court to say these things? Like, that is what the judiciary should be doing, is calling in those people. Like, but that then we're just like leaning on the judiciary over and over and over again, and that's kind of the issue that we're in right now, is that we're only worried about what the judiciary is doing. But like, I just wrote a couple. Let me just go down my list. You had talked about anti-hero stuff. Congress is the perfect person to be your anti-hero. It is kind of the norm now for political theater to be happening in Congress. I know that that's not the ideal thing, but you're often talking about things that are happening within this administration or within this Congress and using it against them. You just read that big long email that was basically full of things that the Trump administration isn't doing. And that was like, I had a contention with that, in that person cited a bunch of things as if the Trump administration is doing this thing already, but they're kind of not. It's kind of in the way that the Trump administration says Democrats have been doing this for years, when they really haven't. So I feel like you're kind of, no, but you're kind of going down that same thing where you're taking things to, like, you're taking things even further than they're taking them. I think that we can just take them to the steps that they're taking it, and that's far enough. Like, why do we need to go even further? Like, why do we need to jail people without bringing up a trial? Versus,
well, because I think they kind of are, right? For all of the immigration stuff.
Yeah, but the immigration stuff is a little bit harder. That's like an immigration law thing that we're doing incorrectly, other than the U.S. citizen part, which,
yeah, but there's they are doing it with some U.S. citizens, which is the issue. But like what you're saying again is like the issue. We're going to loop on this. We're just going to fundamentally disagree, and that you think that like they're adhering to a rule set that I don't think that they're adhering to, and I think that they violated this.
That they're adhering to.
Yeah, but like what you just said was like playing within the confines of what they've stretched, right? So you're like, why would we arrest people without charges? I'm like, well, they kind of already are related to immigration. It's like, well, that's a different thing. It's always going to be a different thing.
Because you're talking about arresting Pam Bondi and doing video game stuff to Pam Bondi. It's like, that's just not something that's happening.
Well,
like,
and Donald Trump talked about executing 6, prior.
Yeah, he talked about it. He didn't do it. We could talk about it.
So do we wait until
they
do? You shouldn't talk about it. I would argue that talking about it is almost as bad as doing it. But we're so brainwashed as Americans that we don't see the difference. The president of the United States talking about executing political opponents, that should, I can't even say, because I would get banned. At the very least, that would be like an instantaneous impeachment. Like, that's insane.
It should be.
Like, well, yeah, but then when you're like, but we can't arrest people that are not blah 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 blah. I don't know the restriction is. We're gonna win the midterms, or whatever. I don't know what common ground we're gonna find here. Listen, if you want to like impress upon me that like something really good will come from the current path that people want to take, then you just have to give me a good reason why I should believe that Republicans won't try to act this way in 2028 or 2032. And I just haven't heard a single thing that is even remotely convincing on that yet.
But you would also admit that your way of doing things also isn't like some foolproof way, because I think that often people that take your route of doing things are like, well, other people that are against you are completely wrong and you're completely right. Yours is actually the only way that it could work.
I don't think anything is guaranteed, but I do think that my path, which is not, by the way, it's not just running around and killing people and going crazy violent or whatever, but I do think that my path of being way more extreme does have a better outcome in the future. Yes. Like everybody only focuses on like the extra legal or like the really mean part of like punishing the other side. But like the idea is that in the future, when people know this exists, like just nobody behaves this way anymore. Because it was like, okay, obviously this is not worth it. We all have to like be, you know, good stewards of the law and our public offices, and we don't want to like have some crazy shit happen in the future. So like, let's all do our best to you know, to do our shit, right? But in your world, I don't think you're creating that. So you're just like setting yourself up for future harms. Because it's just like people are going to say, oh, well, you know, we got away with this in the past. Why wouldn't we just do this again in the future? Because there's always going to be another side who's going to kind of be willing to pick up the pieces of government and return to norms and traditions. And then we'll figure out how much we can rig them again in the future to see how hard we can win our political offices and how much we can rig shit else.
But they could also just do that same thing after you do all of the stuff that you're doing and just be like, oh, well, we're just never going to give the government back though. And now
I disagree.
We're going to play nice until we can. And then now we're going to just.
I disagree with that for two reasons. The first reason I disagree with that is because hold on, I just wiped my mind. Repeat what you just said.
So you keep saying that the incentives need to be basically addressed, and that your way of doing it is going to stop people from doing it in the future, or lead to somebody doing it or not doing it in the future. And I asked you, what stops them from just playing ball, and then when they get power, saying like, "Oh, haha, we're actually going to do all that bad shit again. We're never going to."
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember. Yeah, okay. The two things are that one, I don't think there is a limiting factor on them right now. Right? So this is a thing that is brought up over and over again, and I failed at communicating this because every single person has brought this up in a conversation, so either nobody agrees with me on it or I just haven't communicated it well. You keep speaking as though they have a limiting principle right now, and the limiting principle is based on what the Democrats have done. But that's just not true. The limiting principle is just based on what they think they can get away with. So when you say things like, we shouldn't do these things because imagine the crazy shit they'll do in the future, well, they're just going to do whatever crazy shit they think they can get away with at any point in time anyway. That's it. It's not nothing. The Democratic actions aren't stopping them. It's just whatever their constituency has an appetite for, number one. And then number two, I think that right now, part of the, and I guess there's no way for me to prove this, but I think part of the big reason why they do the shit they do now is because they do feel like there's no punishment, there's no negatives for doing it. Like, and again, this is where I talk about the incentives. Like, if you were a conservative right now, why would you not just like lie, cheat, do whatever the fuck you can, defame or whatever, when you know that there's not going to be any repercussions for it, or not serious repercussions for it, and the rewards are numerous?
They'll probably get a pardon too.
At 1,000,000,000,000%. Oh,
by the way, I think everybody that is worried about like talking about reforms and things like that, I'm going to ask you my pardon reform and tell me if you think it's better than what like Connor said. I think that pardons should not be able to happen on trials that have not concluded yet. I don't think somebody should be able to be pardoned until they are found guilty or not guilty or whatever, in a crime.
Just remove the pardon. Trimple.
I don't think I necessarily disagree with that, actually. Or at the very least, like a pardon, maybe one way you could change that is a pardon works as like maybe like a plea deal. I don't know how you would actually do this in terms of function, but like if somebody accepts a pardon, they have to like, you know, publicly or in front of a court, like admit like I am guilty of doing these things and, you know, whatever else.
Well, I think that technically that is what I think it's like not a tested theory, but I think that people say like when you're pardoned, you kind of lose your right to invoke the Fifth Amendment because you cannot be prosecuted.
Some
for
people
the crime.
argue that it's considered, and some people argue that it's like considered, if you accept a pardon, you're kind of accepting the guilt of the thing. But it's not like it's not a super hardcore like this is legally binding. But yeah, I've heard that before. Let's go kill the extractors.
I think that should be something that we push. And so like when we're like in my world, I do believe that most people are going to be pardoned by Trump, and so that's where I think like we should be going after people. And that's one of the things that when people talk about reforms and things like this, like that's one of the things that we should start legally testing is the pardon power and someone's ability to stay silent invoking the Fifth Amendment, because like I think it would be equally as good, like where you're saying like if we jail everybody, I think it would be equally as good to do like show trials in Congress with all of these people basically asking them all these questions that they can't Fifth Amendment. Like I think that one of the main issues that happened with the January 6th committee is that they did almost every deposition behind closed doors. It took like a crazy amount of time for anybody to like hear anything about it. And I think like we should just be having show trials in Congress over and over and over again.
Sure, but that's just one part of it. Like you have to have the media and all the other stuff working with you as well. Like there was a huge 5 or 6 or 7 day presentation on the J6 stuff, but at the end of the day, like most Americans just don't give a fuck.
Yeah, but like
he's got a ton of shit.
Okay.
But like the Epstein stuff, like as much as I just don't think that it's like that big of a deal or whatever. But like one of the reasons why it is continuing to be a big deal is because it's like an ongoing thing that's like not being addressed, right? Like they keep fumbling it,
Well,
they keep removing things.
I mean, I feel like the Epstein thing actually reinforces my point, right? Like the reason why the Epstein stuff was such a big deal is because it was a Republican messaging point. Right? Dan Bongino, I remember these guys screaming on podcasts. I remember Dan Bongino, I think he was talking to Tim Pool. It's like, I know a guy at the CIA, and he's told me everything about Epstein, and they've got all this Epstein shit. And Pam Bondi, remember what I said earlier? Remember what I said earlier about like the politicians working with influencers? How many influencers did Pam Bondi bring to the, I don't know what building it was, or whatever, where she handed them all the fucking binders or whatever? Like, how much more collaborative can you get than that? Yeah, like I agree, the Epstein stuff is a big thing, but it's that literally because it's a Republican talking point.
Yeah, the Dems suck, I guess, at messaging.
Well, it's not that they suck. It's just that this is kind of the argument that I got with Connor before. Like the Dems are like politicians that are doing political things, and the Republicans have transformed completely into like a political party of influencers, and that's just their main job now, are to be influencers and to work with influencers. And you can't like. I don't know how you compete in that environment.
I don't know. Are you planning on watching the Bill Clinton deposition or the Hillary Clinton deposition?
Maybe.
I wouldn't watch a Hillary Clinton one. If you were going to watch either one of them, you should watch the Bill Clinton one, because I think that the precedent that having the president of the United States do a deposition in front of Congress that Bill Clinton set is something that we should really build off of.
Sure, but I mean, Trump would just never agree to it. He'll just never. That would never. True,
but
ever
like,
happen.
One of the things that Hillary talks about often in her deposition is that they fought to have it in public because, and that's like one of the things, like with the Benghazi hearing, she was talking about how like every time she's been in front of Congress, she's asked for it to be public because she believes that that's the right thing to do. And so like, I think that when Congress moves forward with whatever it is that they're going to do after 2026 is that they need to like be like, well, we want to do all of this in public and show everybody. And if that means that everybody's going to come in front of Congress and just like do the Fifth Amendment, and we need to capitalize on that. And if that means that people aren't going to go and be like go with the subpoenas that Congress puts out, our presidential candidate in 2028 needs to run on like Congress is a equal branch of government that needs to be listened to, and I'm going to get into office and make sure that Congress is complied with, and we need to work once again together and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know. Can you tell me like what a way that I can put together my thoughts on like the violence stuff and things like that to where like I could convince anybody that it's a larger deal? Because I feel like it's just like a joke, or it's just me.
I mean, I
like,
agree that it's a joke, but like, I agree with that. But this is what I got demonetized for, right? Was I was literally, but I mean, I guess you could argue I said it in kind of an edgy way, but it was when I said like conservatives should be afraid of violence when they're talking openly about how sexy and awesome a civil war would be. The whole point, and I say the whole point like it was a fucking mystery, but like if you listen to more than the Jesse Water clips, like the whole point is that like people romanticize the concept of civil war violence too much, but like it's happening constantly on the right, while their administration is enacting violence against us. And then we're supposed to take like an uber principled stance on everything, which I agree we should do. But like, there's going to be a breaking point on that. And I don't know. I mean, like, I don't support
principled
violence.
Stance is that maybe we should
exhaust every
people.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we should exhaust every other avenue first. And I don't think we've even come close to that. But we need to, like, we're past due to start working on exhausting those other avenues. And just because of the construction of the way that the left works right now is just not. It's not there. Yeah.
And so that's where like I don't know what the answer is, because like a lot of people say that they don't know what they should be doing, and like I'm trying to figure out something with like the political action guys to where, you know, like people can have no excuse really to not do anything. Like there's weekend protests that are near me like pretty often, even like on a street corner, that have anywhere from like 20 to 30 people at them. And they're basically just like holding signs and like waiting for people to honk.
I understand.
And stuff
like
that.
You can do that, and I don't want to ever take away from people doing that, obviously, because I support the political action community. Destiny or Discord.gg/DGG poll. But like, on one side you've got like join a protest on a street corner with 20 people, and then on the other side it's like here's $50,000 to join ICE and beat the shit out of brown people that you're allowed to legally racially profile now. And if you kill a U.S. citizen,
50K.
we're gonna ship you off to another state so you can avoid any kind of scrutiny whatsoever.
And you'll probably get a pardon.
Do you think that I don't understand that though?
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, or I think you understand that, but I'm just saying that like the motivation on the left to engage like in polite society, good faith or whatever, that's a really hard sell. Like understandably so. Like I'll do my job to message a little bit less radically to people. Like I said, I don't think I want like a fucking shooter coming out of my community, but like you can get radicalized by the other side as well. And keep in mind the entire right, like the reason right now why I guess apparently 160 schoolgirls died in some Iranian school. The reason why that happened is because people on the right 11 years ago got triggered by people with pronouns in their Twitter bios. Like, that's where we're at. And it's like, okay, well, fine. So they got so triggered that they supported one of the most authoritarian regimes in all of U.S. history, but you guys can't get triggered by them murdering U.S. citizens in the street, shipping DACA kids off to CCOT, and indiscriminately bombing other countries and then talking about how epic it is, because that would be bad politics and we need to go out and protest on street corners instead. And I'm not trying, I know it sounds like I'm undermining your message. I'm not trying to undermine your message. I'm just saying that, like, there's a lot of understandable, I think, grievance on the other end of things. And
I mean, this feels... oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, this feels like a problem of, like, 10 years ago, people were just saying whatever the f they want, and it just... sometimes it feels like, I don't know, the left woke scolds, like, a little bit too much or whatever. I guess woke scold's not the word, but, like, the left is like, oh, well, we need to play, like, within the bounds of, like, the law. We need to be nice, blah, blah, blah. But, like, the right doesn't give a f about this. They didn't give a f about this, and they got, like, giga in power. And now, yeah, as you're saying, we're having Iranian children being fucking bombed by U.S. troops and shit. Like, it's disgusting. I don't know. I understand why people are angry, and I understand why people want to Fed post.
I do as well. Like, I have not... If I could say what I want to say, I would, but I can't. And so, like, that's the issue, is that people need to stop doing that because they can't either, and they need to, like, think about that kind of stuff a little bit better, because we're just going to have to start holding hands and, like, making people understand that they can't do that. So, like, that's what we're going to end up doing. I don't know how to convince people that, like, I'm taking this shit seriously, and, like, maybe I'm just a step further than them, and that I can think that it's bad, but also think that we shouldn't continue to have violent rhetoric. I did have one question for you. Why do you think so many people hate Hutch for his position when IRI has a very, like, way more extreme position, in that he thinks they're all going to walk and nothing's going to happen, and that we need to move on?
Probably because IRI just doesn't engage in it as much. One, so I think IRA doesn't engage in this conversation as much, so people don't see it. And then two, I think that I do think, I don't know how to ever curb my community because I scream at them all the time. Like, my community is incapable of having small disagreements with people. So if there's even a minor disagreement, like, people like literally blow their fucking brains out trying to express how much they seethe and hate and want to murder any person I'm talking to who has a disagreement on things. So I think that the response to Hutch is oftentimes unhinged, but yeah, it's probably mainly because Hutch engages with that topic more than IRI did. If IRI started debating it all the time and people saw the position, they'd be like, oh, well, I think IRI is really wrong here, and they would start to...
Hutch also title baits.
True, yeah. Also, IRI is a lot more like kind of like matter-of-factly delivers things, whereas I think Hutch is a bit more provocative, like I am. So you're more likely to like if somebody like IRI gives a position that you disagree with, you're probably less likely to hate him for it. Whereas if somebody like Hutch or me gives a position you disagree with, you're more likely to get upset over it because we are way more aggressive in demeanor.
Yeah, I think I know IRI watches your stuff sometimes. I think that he should come in more often, because I think he can put things in a better perspective than I can, as far as like what the realistic options are. I think that like one reason why I don't think Trump's ever going to be held accountable is because he's just old, dude. I think he's going to die before anything would happen. Even if there were trials and things like that, I think he's probably just going to die.
Sure.
But like, I don't. He seems to be.
Do you think he should be held accountable?
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of them should.
In what way do you think he should be held accountable?
I think that he should be jailed.
Okay.
And
what if he pardons himself and everybody in his administration?
That's where I was saying. I think that we should push the limits of the pardon power and actually start to get.
Yeah, but it's already done. What do you do for the next administration. Because they've already pardoned him. You can't change it retroactively.
That's what I'm saying. You bring those people in for questioning and things like that. You start to have like the courts.
But then he's
have
not
to
jailed,
make
correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you still want like to, and I'm not saying this in like a mean way. You still want the status quo to continue, and that you would just fix it in the future.
I personally am not subscribed to the we should just jail people for no reason part.
Okay.
That's not something that I subscribe to because
So
I
Hutch
do. I don't know if I would say that. I think Hutch is a little bit too like he thinks that everything can be solved by just like letting things play how they should play, whereas I think we should be aggressively using
hold on,
every
let
single
me.
option that we have.
I'll represent.
Go ahead.
Hutch does have an aggressive position. He just wants to not stray outside of the legality bounds. I don't think it's fair to represent Hutch saying, "Well, we'll let things play as they play." I think Hutch will have an aggressive.
No, because Hutch doesn't even believe that the president should, or anybody that's running in 2028 should be running on a ticket of like we need to hold Trump's administration accountable. He doesn't think that they should even say that.
Well, I think he'd be okay with it insofar as I'm going back to the hospital. Fuck these guys. I got a shotgun. That's all I got. I think he'd say that that's an okay thing to run on, but it can't be like on like extra legal shit or like illegal stuff.
No. He said explicitly that the person that is running for 2028 should not communicate.
Riley, you should be able to join this
room
now. Sorry, go ahead. She's in chat.
They should not communicate that they are wanting to use the DOJ to go after anybody that is like a political opponent. So he said something along those lines that they shouldn't be having conversations with the AG that they're putting forth or anything like that about, hey, we should. He believes that like the things are already bad enough that it's going to happen regardless of if they say something or they don't say something, so that we should just stick to the norm of keeping the DOJ independent.
Okay, maybe he does say that. All right. I just want to
about it.
represent his view so he doesn't feel like I'm bad faith slamming him after.
No, I watch Hutch just as much as I watch you, if not more, because sometimes I don't watch you play Ark, so because I just play it myself. But yeah, so that's where I do just think it's weird that like a lot of people really like our IRI here, but like he's got a more extreme position than Hutch, and it could be true that people like to attack Hutch because he opens himself to attack. And I told him that. I said, listen, as much as you are going to continue to read the subreddit for unhinged people, I'm going to allow people to post unhinged shit about you in the subreddit because you're farming the community. Like I told him that.
Okay.
Base?
I mean, kind of just explained it. Like he's like actively engaging with it, and he's like having like hours-long discussions about it with DGGers.
Yeah.
Sure.
And
Just to be clear, I just want to
to
specify. I don't think that people should be unhinged against Hutch. It's okay if they disagree.
I agree.
But yeah, okay. Just to be clear on that.
I'm just saying about like sometimes people like post a meme that's like pretty exaggerated.
Sure.
But he'll like engage with it in a funny way.
Sure. Okay.
But yeah, I don't. That's why I was asking you. Like, I don't know what the way to, other than you to not talk, because one of the things that like people said in the subreddit when I brought up like this extreme language is like, well, Destiny does it, so good luck trying to get the community to stop doing it. Like, people see you as making the extreme language that I'm talking about.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So like that's I don't know how to fix that, and
I think
obviously
he
you don't
already
need
said
to.
he wouldn't do that as much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, nobody should do anything whatsoever. That's really bad. But I don't know.
Not even.
I'm going to once
about.
again say, international DGGers, you are not an American. Do not post as an American on the subreddit. You will be destroyed if I find out that you are a non-American posting as if you are.
My inventory's full. Are you ready to go? Or
Yeah. Okay.
I'll figure out a better way to say this, and maybe I'll just talk behind the scenes about it, because I really don't know, because the chat doesn't seem to take it seriously, and like I don't know what the way to make it come across better is. Because to me it just seems serious. Like if you're talking about hurting people, no matter who it is, you should take those threats seriously. And I don't know any other way to put that.
I mean, I agree. But I would also just be careful with the way you're phrasing that, because you're making it sound like... I don't think you intend to make it sound this way. You make it sound like it's all kind of a joke when you say it that way. Like, people need to take this seriously. But when you say something like that, you make it sound like the only way you could have thoughts like this is if you're not taking it seriously. But then you're not engaging, I think, with the people who are taking it seriously, and these are the thoughts that they've arrived with, which I think is fundamentally a different type of conversation.
Yeah, and what I'm saying that they should take seriously is the fact that they are arriving at that position, and most of them are arriving at that position and feeling as if there's nothing else that they can do other than those things. And I think that's what radicalizes people.
Yeah,
is that
exhausting
they think that
all.
violence is the only option.
If you want to be violent as much as possible, then all of your energy should be fixated on exhausting all the steps along the way to that. So finding good activists and doing good protests or strikes or targeted things to try to force, political hands to do certain actions or whatever. Like, these are the steps that you need to exhaust before you actually get into any kind of like.
Would you ever want to lead any stuff like that?
I mean, like, in a perfect world, sure, but like I'm radioactive. Everybody is radioactive to everybody on the left, but I'm especially radioactive. Like, I can't. It's literally impossible for me to collaborate with people. Like, I'm sure Hutch is already starting to get people shitting on him from like the weird anti-fan communities that I'm in that are attacking him now because he did a conversation with me yesterday. Anytime I do anything with anybody else, you've got like Hassan and all those types of people are jumping on board, right? Hassan almost destroyed, like, I don't know if people realize it or not to blow anybody's shit up or whatever, but I guess I don't watch him enough to know, but my impression, and I don't talk about behind the scenes, so it's not like I have any special insight of this, but like Hassan, the feeling I get is Hassan almost destroyed Lonerbox's entire streaming career. Like, I know that Lonerbox wanted to take a break for a while. I'm pretty sure that the feeling for that was that not only did he end up becoming isolated from my community after the Pixie shit, but then Hassan spent an inordinate amount of time brutally going after Lonerbox, and then all of his little dick suck orbiters were doing the same thing. So I mean, like, it's a brutal.
Who was he going after him over?
Because he was related to me in any way. So anybody that looks even tangentially related to me, and then it was over calling him like a doesn't matter. It was all it was on the basis of the Israel-Palestine stuff, but it was because he was anywhere remotely related to me. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Hobbit, but I struggle on the fact of like the right literally sits there and memes like, I don't know, about like the lady husband who got hit with a fucking hammer, and they meme about people getting shot on the left, etc. Yeah. It's really hard to like not like to, I guess, to give a fuck.
And then especially when all the violent memers on our side, I say quote unquote our side, are actually just tankies who are just violently memeing about Jews in Israel. And it's like, okay, well.
It's really hard. I mean, I understand, and I think the community should like tone it down, and we probably should try like not doing it. But man, is it hard.
Yeah.
Sure, and like I have nothing wrong with that. I just think that like people should just understand, like, I'm not trying to downplay what it is that they're feeling. I'm just trying to be realistic about the situation of like, it would really suck if all of a sudden we got nuked because all of a sudden Reddit said that X meme that is posted 7,000 times in our subreddit is now against the rules. So like again, if I could speak in the way that I want to speak, I would. And that's where it's kind of hard for me to put this all together because I can't speak like openly because it is terms of service. But like, if people would just understand that, not see it that I'm against somebody, one of the things that somebody had said was like that I'm looking to downplay what's happening and to allow the violence to continue and live in a fantasy land.
Yeah, that's retarded.
Like
that's delusional.
Like that's the thing is like I'm clearly not doing that. And so like I don't know, that's my only thing is trying to figure out how people can know that it's very serious, but also that we shouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Sorry, geez, another quick thing. Somebody just linked this. So leftist blondie, this Ann person. I think I've seen this person. I'm pretty sure I've seen this person in real life before. I think we were at an event, right? One of the America events. I don't remember all the people. I see these sometimes. So I think I've seen this person once or twice, maybe. And Mike from PA, you are a fangirl of Destiny who helped create Nick Fuentes' career, admitted to possessing child porn, and is being sued right now for sharing revenge porn. You're about as leftist as Lauren Southern, one of Destiny's Nazi exes. Like,
Jesus Christ.
And then Hassan is literally like jumping on these tweets. I'm supposed to go lead protests and march. Like, it's just impossible. Like, it's just, like, I don't know how you operate with these people. Meanwhile, you have Lauren Boebert, an elected member of Congress, like literally snapping photographs of Hillary Clinton during a closed-door deposition and shipping them off to Benny Johnson for him to shoot out on Twitter. It's just like, it's just unbelievable. Yeah, I don't know. That this world sucks. But that's why we have arc raiders and eugenics.
Where are you gonna move if the country goes to shit?
To Hawaii. Okay. Well, anything else? Are we good, or we got your points?
No, I like I said, I just have a hard time putting it into words. So I just wanted to give people a warning, and that was basically it. And like, you don't have any issue with me banning that stuff, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Like international people acting as if they're Americans and like trying to rile up the subreddit and shit like that. Like that's wrong, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. And I love everybody. I love everybody in the subreddit and DGG chat. I love everybody. It's really bad right now, and I'm not trying to downplay it. Okay, I'm just trying to keep us all safe. But if you guys disagree with me, you can keep yourselves safe. Okay. Have a good day, everybody.
Hey, Steven. How's it going?
Hi, what's up?
Not much. Been a hot second, but I was listening to the stream, and I just figured, like, while you're talking about, you know, the whole larger conversation of, like, how to be able to mobilize your following or how to be able to use your platform, I have been thinking about this a lot, and I wanted to see, you know, especially, like, in the outside of, like, you know, stuff like Progressive Victory and all that, because there's been a lot of focus online about using followings for, like, electoral advocacy. I was curious about your thoughts on maybe trying to shift focus or like focusing alternatively on things like legislative advocacy or like trying to focus on...
I understand what you're saying before we go down too far this. It can't just be my community all the time alone. Like that like if you want to have this conversation, I think you should have this conversation with other creators and you should tell them to collaborate more with people. Like it can't be that like my community is like the sole thing staffing Progressive Victory, the sole thing trying to do canvassing for people, the sole thing trying to fundraise for advocacy orgs. Like I just can't do it. We can't do that. It's just not possible.
That's not. No, I totally hear you. I'm not necessarily saying that. I'm even agreeing a bit. Like it's a really unfortunate circumstance where I think that you brought up earlier that, you know, typically what we see in these kind of situations, unfortunately, is like a lot of the infighting among creators ends up bleeding over into these like larger movements. And it, you know, it does create a lot of logistical kind of issues with being able to coordinate and like have these kind of larger, especially like electoral movements. Comparatively, for stuff like legislative advocacy, where you're focusing on like trying to pass very specific pieces of legislation, you know, that's something, and I can speak a little bit from personal experience. I mean, this is what I do for a living now. Like you can do that with basically just like a small group of people if you really want to. Like if there's ever particular bills, especially in like legislatures where you could actually be able to make a meaningful difference, because, you know, one of the big, I'm sorry, there's like so much I wish I could be able to talk about, but I don't want to bore chat. But, you know, one of the biggest things that I picked up as like a little like nice nugget of information is that one of the biggest restrictions on people being able to lobby in like state legislatures is usually whether or not they're being compensated or paid specifically to do lobbying. But volunteers, and chat, if you're watching, like if you're living in a state where you can actually make a difference and you can like reach out to your legislators or like go over to your state capital or whatever, you can do basically as much as you want. Like there's not a ton of restrictions on what you're able to do. Again, caveat differs from state to state, so on and so forth. But like, you know, you don't have to do a lot of collaborations with other organizations or with other streamers or whatever. Like that's something that you could do largely on your own initiative if you were ever interested in looking at doing more like that kind of advocacy.
Sure. And I think we've got the DGG poll server to kind of shepherd people off into that direction for those types of specific things that they can advocate for. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And I guess like as a particular example, I don't know if there's like a ton of disagreement here, but you know, that's something that there's already some interest in. Like for example, in Maryland, I know that this legislative session, there's a bill that's going through called the Icebreaker Act. Again, it's hard to have things that are massive responses to federal policy at the state level, but that would be a bill, if passed, would prohibit state law enforcement agencies from being able to hire anyone who started working in ICE after the beginning of the current Trump administration, right? Which is pretty great because it ensures that once everything ends, and eventually it will, you know, come hell or high water, like that these people will not be able to have any kind of positions of legal authority in our state. Like that is, in my opinion, a really cool piece of legislation. Now, personally, I can't do a lot of work on something like that. Like, I'm just too busy with my job because now I'm an attorney and I'm in court or I'm working on other legislation. But like, if there are people watching in chat, and like, I'm not saying for like people to come like outside, like again, like legislative advocacy is different. But like, if you're living in Maryland and you have spare time and the ability, like, you could start working on that bill. You could reach out to legislators' office. They take volunteers. Like, this is, you know, one or a group of people could make like a massive difference and actually get something like that passed. You know, just to put it in people's minds. I'm a resource. I'm willing to talk to people and like educate. You know, like I teach people how to do this kind of stuff. But you know, that's something that if you ever want to explore more, like, you know, there are resources for helping people do that.
Okay.
Are any other content creators like out there like doing canvassing?
Or it's not just canvassing. I mean, there are other things you can do as well, but
yeah, for sure.
In terms of like real life political engagement on anything having to do with like actual like political stuff, no, on the left. But that's because all the left leaning content creators hate the Democratic Party and don't like politics. They just like the aesthetic of it. That's why when you look at people, like, it's hard to understand why so many people attack Gavin Newsom if you don't understand the aesthetic of doing politics. But if you understand the aesthetic of doing politics, it actually makes perfect sense. When you look at Gavin Newsom through the lens of like Hassan Piker, and you realize that Hassan doesn't care about legislation, he just cares about tweets, it makes sense why Hassan would consider somebody like Gavin Newsom transphobic, because he doesn't like the things that Gavin Newsom has said, but he doesn't care about the laws that Gavin Newsom has passed, because he cares more about like the online the podcaster sphere,
podcast.
Yes, versus the actual relevant effect. And this applies to the Majority Report, to Emma Cuntland, and to all of these losers everywhere on the far left, the shit guard and everybody else. This is just how they evaluate everything. But unfortunately, again, that's like our entire influencer activist class. So the only people that they will ever advocate for, do any kind of real life stuff for, if anything at all, are just going to be like fringe DSA people that are either in deep blue districts or unelectable elsewhere, it seems like. But that was really a negative take, so I don't know.
All that stuff is interesting though, because we are seeing like you know, just from my perspective, like seeing how legislators are actually responding, like there's more interest nowadays in collaboration generally with social media content creators, especially like, you know, even like moderate and like very professional, like center, left-leaning, or like general Democratic legislators. Like there's increasingly more and more interest, but I think that a lot of them are kind of scared or intimidated by like the fact that a lot of content creators that you see who are like super popular, like the Hassans of the world, are like really and sketchy to work with. You know, it's like there's a lot of, I think, concern about that, but like that doesn't mean that the interest isn't there. So for example, recently,
you can give me your example, and I'll give you. I'm not going to say it, but I've had at least like one political thing, and then a couple very large people behind the scenes. Sometimes people will contact me to get my advice on like, should I do this thing with Hassan or another political figure or whatever? Like, what are your opinions on it? And I'll usually give my honest opinions. I'm never saying like, don't ever blah, blah, blah. Every single time I've heard somebody say like, my team looked into this and we agree like this thing is like really sketchy, really weird, it's never because they are anti-Democratic Party or hate the Democratic Party. And it's always because of just like online drama stuff in general. I've never, to a person who is either a large figure or is a politically connected or active person, for any team that's ever spoken to me about how like, yeah, we agree, like we wouldn't do content with like Hassan or this thing or whatever, the concerns that they bring up are never related to his political views and always related to just like dramatic things.
Is it more like dramatic things like he said like America deserved 9/11?
Yeah, like just
that
fights.
Kind of stuff?
Yeah, just like or fights
clips
online with content creators or stuff like that. Like that's always it. Yeah.
This is going to sound a little bit weird to people who are watching, and it was weird to me when I learned it, but I think that this is something that is good for people online to recognize. Most people's, especially like when you have electeds with a relatively limited staff and, you know, resources within them, they're not going to do like a full background research into like the specific political views of the content creators that they're going to be reaching out to. What they're going to be looking into are whether or not there are major general controversies, and then like, are they generally supportive of the right or left wing, or right or left wing? Like that's, they're not looking up in like these particular statements of Hassan for the most part, unless they have like a staff or like an intern who already has like that kind of background with them, and can, you know, it's not like a massive lift for them to spend a lot of time to look into that. But like,
they're probably just going to go on ChatGPT and be like, what are the big controversies this person has been involved
Unironically,
in?
yes.
Like,
and then they'll take the top 3 things and they'll look at them.
Yeah.
And if it's like, yeah. But then the issue is that then our like the political class engagement on the right, again, is like a top-down coordinated thing where everybody is working in perfect synchronicity to make sure that their candidates are getting elected, whereas the few times people on the left are getting brave enough, like the political leaders on the left are getting brave enough to to come out and do politics with content creators on the left, they're getting like, it's like anti-democratic people. Like I remember, wait, was it Whitmer who went on with Crystal Ball? No, I think it was a senator from Minnesota. What was her name? Slotkin, who went on to Breaking Points with Crystal Ball and just got fucking raked over the coals about Israel-Palestine in like a very brutal interview. And I'm like, why are we doing this to like such a competitive senator with Dearborn and everything in play? Like, why the fuck are we like? And it's just like that over and over and over and over and over again.
Well, yeah,
and
they constantly try to like destroy them and tear them down no matter what.
It's like I said, like there's a reason why like the right will never, ever, ever attack, and Hassan will get jealous sometimes when other people on the left, me or anybody else, are getting attacked by Republicans. The right will never go after people like Hassan Piker because they know that these people are almost like controlled opposition. Like they play really well into all of the right-wing narratives. They're going to spend the majority of the time fighting the left. They're never going to support the left candidates, and then they're any airplay they get with the left is just going to be shitting on the left and largely ignoring what's going on with Trump. I think the fact that like
I feel
nobody
like they even barely go after Nick Fuentes.
For who, on the right, or you mean like Hassan?
Right.
Oh
no, I meant on the right.
What do you mean? You mean like right-leaning people don't go after Nick Fuentes, or?
Yeah, I haven't seen that as much. Has it like happened more and more recently?
There was when he was getting a little bit more influence, but
like when he was closer to Trump.
Yeah, but they're mainly just interested in like holding their coalition together. But but it's annoying too because it's not just the political failings too. It's also like there is no excuse for John Flavor Flav or whatever the fuck to not know anything about the political backgrounds of the people that he brings onto his show, and then to have them mask up. Like in my opinion, whatever, people can call it bias or personal, whatever. Like I think you're unqualified to do politics for the Democratic Party in this administrative legislative season if you couldn't wholeheartedly endorse Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. Like I think that you're just completely and totally disqualified, and nobody should want to hear anything you have to say about anything at all. At least from a left-leaning perspective. That's just crazy to me. That's like the lowest bar. That's like the first threshold I think you should have to pass. So I don't know.
I mean, that should have been a come to Jesus, like you're kicked out of the party moment.
Or not.
Like,
I mean, he's not even in the party,
anymore.
but like, yeah, you're just not like nobody's going to do, because why, when you could do things with, it doesn't have to be me. It could be BTC, it could be Luke Beasley, it could be any other number. Yeah, Mogler, any other number of liberals. But yeah, I don't know. No, but I guess nobody really cares that much. So slurp them up.
Yeah, but I mean, like, fortunately, it does cut the other way, right? Like, even though, so unfortunately for, a lot of the content creators who we are much more critical of, people generally, like the mainstream electeds, are not going to be looking into like their personal political backgrounds and like all of their specific positions online. That also cuts true for anyone who we would want to help get into those kind of collaborations. So for example, recently, so this was the example I was going to bring up. We're working in a bill in Baltimore City that relates to like tenants' rights issues, and we were able to get Dylan Burns involved with one of our city council people to work on a documentary to support that particular piece of legislation. And so that is underway. We've already been able to get a lot of good footage, but like it's not like their office did like a massive review into Dylan's background. Like, again, like a lot of this is based off of trust and relationships. Like, this is someone who I had worked with a decent amount, and so like I was able to vouch for Dylan, and as a consequence, like, he's able to get involved and like actually make a meaningful difference. So like, also that's also relevant to the point earlier of like, what are ways where political influencers can be able to help? Like, I'm not saying that that's something that everyone wants to do, but like, there's interest in collaborations as well with electeds. It's just, people are kind of, it's still a bit of the Wild West, so people are exploring that. Mm-hmm. But, as far as like for your purposes, I would be interested to see what electeds are saying in terms of doing potential collaborations with you and similar content creators. Because I mean, like at this point, I know that you've done a couple, but if I had to guess, the vast majority of them are probably not like focusing on the super, like any kind of like, I don't know, like they're not, people in elected offices are not following like major controversies. At worst, you might have like
not following like stuff related to kiwi farms or whatever, or thinking that like I'm a pedophile. Definitely not. But like understand that I'm in a pretty major lawsuit right now that there were like 50 articles written about that every other person pumps the up out of, especially related to women who are precious and treated like children on the left. Absolutely. That is definitely still a thing that is on people's heads. Like there are a few contacts that I have that I know, like once that suit resolves, it like opens up more stuff for me, which is fine. Again, I'm not trying to make it about myself or think about me personally, but like it is just like a year and a half that I'm not gonna say anything mean.
It's your life
that somebody managed to delete off my life because I'm not gonna say anything mean. Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, like the
Or my politically
as far as,
effective.
like, other
Sorry, sorry, go ahead.
no, you're all good. You're all good. But yeah, I think that's something. I don't know. It doesn't sound like there's like a ton of necessarily disagreement, but I know that. I guess that the main point I wanted to make was, even though it's hard to do collaborations with other content creators, which I like, it sucks, but like I've had, you know, like I've seen a lot of the similar kind of stuff. Like I feel like probably of a similar positioning at this point. The better alternative that I've found is if you are able to like give people background on how to be able to do legislative advocacy, like there's so much that people can do on their own. Like literally, oh, you know, here's a good example. I'll leave y'all with this. Recently, when I was going back to the school of I got my master's in public policy from the University of Maryland. I was able to connect with someone actually from this community over there, another person who watches your content. And it was really cool because even just being able to connect with them, you know, we were able to like connect on LinkedIn, and then afterwards I was able to help him get an internship with a senator here in Maryland that I knew from previous work. So like even just like that kind of little stuff, you know, like I don't know, maybe it sounds like this other website that you have is somewhat in the right direction, but from what I've found growing as an advocate and as someone, you know, doing this kind of work as an attorney, like the best way to learn how to navigate these kinds of circumstances is genuinely through connections with other people. Like, yeah, there are online resources. Yeah, there are things to learn how to be able to do this from the Maryland General Assembly website. But where I've learned the most is just like working with other people and hearing how they do their work and navigate these kind of systems. So I don't know, like that's something that could be emulated, but I don't know. We could talk about that more in the future if you want to give a thought.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, that's all I got. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Love you.
Ciao.
Careful.
Bye.
That was Riley RGR.
RGR.
Yeah. Some people thought she sounds like Z or whatever. But oh, Kafka, what's up?
Hey, I heard you guys talking. Doesn't sound like a big.
Okay, stop.
sound
You're
like you're
trolling
underwater.
me. Yeah, you're trolling me. Stop trolling me, and then speak. So take your phone from out under the shower, the bathtub, the inside your chest cavity, whatever you're doing right now. Stop trolling me.
So excited about getting being mad at me.
I don't know. He sounds really bad right now.
Yeah, I can't. You're almost inaudible. It is a good troll though. 10 out of 10.
Great troll, my friend.
Okay, is that better?
Yes.
You got so excited to be able to talk down to me. Okay, I heard you and some other people soying out yesterday about the U.S. Attorney, I believe, in the Eastern District of Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay, so did you figure out how they're able to file things even though she isn't approved by the Senate and everything?
No.
Okay, so you know that they can basically have like an interim U.S. attorney, whatever it's called, like acting U.S. attorney for 120 days.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So within the U.S. attorney's office, there are people called AUSAs, assistant U.S. attorneys. These are just people with jobs. They just get hired. They go in and they act as attorneys. That's what you guys were referring to as line prosecutors, which
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you meant by that, but I think that's what you guys were trying to refer to. Okay, so amongst those AUSAs, they have varying levels of seniority just based on how long they're there, their expertise. The acting or the actual U.S. attorney will then name one of them to be the first assistant U.S. attorney, okay? And then that person, if there is no U.S. attorney and there is no acting U.S. attorney, will be able to sign on behalf of all the other assistant U.S. attorneys when they're filing things to courts. Okay, so that's like the procedural process by which they're able to still file things and do cases.
Okay.
I feel like, though, you guys are taking umbrage with the idea that office could still operate, though. You guys, I feel like you want it to be where they shouldn't be able to operate without a named one, right? Is that wrong?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so you understand,
Good.
Do you think that it's just because
Yes.
it's administration, or you think that's a good idea? Because to me as an attorney, that seems like a really bad idea to set up the system that way.
What, is your argument going to be because there are federal crimes that we should always be prosecuting, and the idea of having that office being defunct or ineffective would be catastrophic for enforcement of criminal law, federal criminal law?
I mean, they handle criminal and civil cases, so
Sure.
any case involving the government.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
the government has an
This
interest.
is what I would say. That's your job, and if you can't staff that office, then get the impeached or have people walk around murdering each other and eat shit. Because if you can't nominate somebody with Senate confirmation, then you've shown that you're incapable of doing your job. Just because somebody can't do their job is not a reason for everybody else to pick up the slack and to say everything for whatever the constitutionally allotted process and procedure is for appointing a prosecutor. That's insane to me.
Doesn't this just become a way for like a future Republican administrations to hold that office like hostage while?
Well, and also I think it's just it's a failing, right? Like imagine if it was the case that so you have to be recognized by the court to represent somebody or something, right? And if you want somebody else to come onto a case, they file a pro hac vice or whatever to give them authorization to appear in some other jurisdiction or whatever else, right? But imagine if it was the case that any lawyer could show up at all, and that was the system, and then somebody's like, well, hold on, if the court doesn't recognize this person, we don't know, like, should anybody be allowed to show up? And then you're saying, well, hold on, does that mean that if the other attorney's available, then that like they just miss all their hearings and everything gets? As far as I understand it, the answer to that would be yes. It would just be fine. If your lawyer wasn't showing up, you can just have random people showing up that haven't gone through the proper process and procedure. And I would say the same thing for a prosecutor in a federal office. Prosecuting federal crimes, I agree with you, is a huge deal. We should all want crimes to be prosecuted, and it should be one of the more important jobs of the executive branch, the executive that executes the law, to staff those offices, in my opinion. And then I'll say one more thing. There is a process or a procedure by which we can still have that job carried out, because like you said, it's so important. And that process and procedure is the district court gets to appoint a prosecutor until the administration can appoint one on their own.
I understand your argument here, and I think it is like a persuasive one, and especially in the context of the current administration, I agree with you. But like, as a way to structure your prosecutorial wing of your Department of Justice, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, because like the government basically is just telling these employees, like, we are giving you the authority to act on our behalf in the government, right? In a court. And I hear you, but like the reason why it's the AUSAs, the U.S. attorneys and the DOJ, the head of the DOJ, are appointed by the president and are confirmed by the Senate. Like the theory behind that is that it's like, these are people in positions that are making decisions on behalf of the U.S. government as to how these cases are litigated, which cases to take, things like that. And so we want the president to have essentially an overall mission that he's trying to accomplish with these people. And then we want the Senate to come in and say, well, we are going to represent the states, and those states are going to say, we also agree with the mission that the president has essentially put forth for this person. But I don't think that there's any part of that really contemplates the idea of like, this is like, we want literal like senatorial oversight of the like actual functioning and procedure of these attorneys interacting with the judicial system, like as like some kind of check on the executive. Because the amount of like harm that could stem from like what you're talking about, the harm that would stem from this single position not being in place is like almost incalculable if it functioned in the way that you were saying.
But then make it that's an important part of your job. Not you personally, but the executive. Then they should do it. And also what you said, if we agree that it's true, it's not a huge check from the Senate, then it shouldn't be hard to get a prosecutor appointed. Or just leave the one that the district court appoints. Don't fire them.
I don't like, I think that the district court appointee kind of thing, I think that should have more checks and because I think that is a proper check in this, that the judiciary says we're going to name this person, and then I think that person being able to be fired by the executive outright doesn't seem to really make sense to me. I would agree there's an issue there, but like the issue is that like the harms that are felt there also like are such that like there's not the remedy for those harms turning around and saying, well, go and fix the executive problem. The executive isn't suffering those harms, really. The people that are suffering those harms don't have a direct way to address that with the executive. And so, like, I think it's
like the everyday people getting affected because their cases aren't.
Yeah, I know, but like, there are certain compromises maybe you can make, but like, you wouldn't compromise. Like, you should be able. This is like a basic thing. You should be able to. I've never in my life. Maybe this has happened. I just haven't heard of it. I've never heard of these types of issues of appointing a prosecutor before getting it confirmed by the Senate.
No, you're right, and this is more of a result of like a breakdown of the norms rather than like some kind of contemplated check. I don't think that like there would.
Well, hold on. No. This is not a breakdown of the norms. This was a deliberate decision by the administration to choose a particular prosecutor that was willing to play ball in a historically horrendous manner, right?
Oh, wait a second.
Oh, sorry.
You're correct there. What I mean is the norms of like, let's say like this had happened under any other president, right? We'd be approaching like impeachment of various cabinet members or even the president, like of like any normal city person. Like the norms would be, this guy is abdicating his duty of replacing the people, right? This is such like, this would bring into such a question of that executive's character and ability, right? That you would begin to see political fallout from it that would encourage that person to name somebody.
Sure.
And all of these things are norms that are used to pressure presidents and things like that. Trump is immune to all that because he doesn't give a fuck, and he only wants what he wants. And so now we don't have a mechanism. And I see what you're saying, where it's like, well, we could just make it where that office just doesn't operate anymore. But like, the judiciary wouldn't want that.
Well, hold on, wait, hold on, wait. I don't know how I got pigeonholed into this position. The office can operate. There is a process, and it is the district court appointing a prosecutor. That's what they did. But then the DOJ fired that prosecutor and didn't want to recognize them, right?
Right, and I think it's fair to say like that person should be immune from firing unless like they're impeached by the Senate, right? Sure. Like at that point, that person can only be removed by an impeachment from the Senate, not through the executive. I think that's a totally fair thing. I was just coming in to say like the calling for that office to basically be shuttered until a proper appointment just feels a bit reactionary.
Sure. I don't know if either of us. I don't know if that's a position. I might have just gotten baited into taking that position. I don't know if either of us had that position ever. I think the idea was just some incredulity that the president or that the Pam Bondi, that the DOJ was firing the district court appointed prosecutor because they're salty that Halligan isn't a real prosecutor that was ever Senate confirmed. I think that was our issue.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I want to like just go over that and kind of like the concepts behind why like this might be counterintuitive, but like there are a plethora of interests for why we would want this office to keep operating, even if like we don't agree with a lot of these higher level aspects that might make us go like, wow, none of this matters. And it's like the breakdown is, as you said, amongst the like executive firing that guy, and then also there being no way to kind of punish Donald Trump for not appointing that U.S. attorney that can be approved by the Senate. I think it's like that's kind of where the realm is, like actually coming down to the office and like saying issues are there. And yeah, you might have gotten pigeonholed into it, so I'm not putting on you. I just explaining to people that like this is an area where it's like the government has a function here, and there are like serious consequences for it. So like this is where maybe being overly reactionary can get us to a point where like, well, Friday, let's just do it this way. It's like, well, like we're creating a massive amount of harm that is not really addressable. And he's already not appointing anybody, so like if we just hurt a bunch of the people, right?
Just clear, I don't think anybody, even Andrew, I don't think anybody was advocating for that. I think the issue was just that they fired the district court appointed person because they wanted to keep Halligan there, which is kind of unbelievable to me. Yeah.
No, it is unfortunate that happened amongst all of the other insane things and is now being overlooked.
Is it an important email?
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. It's for people that are actually paying me money. Okay, so...
Oh, good. The mic's even deeper in your mouth now. Wait, what did you change last time? What are you talking on right now? What are even the settings that could... Into what?
What's wrong with my microphone?
What kind of microphone is it?
It's the same one. The one that I told you about whenever I first set it up. It's up in my office now, but...
Okay, on Windows, if you go to the Windows recording tab, if you know where your mic is, you know how to find it. There's a volume thing, and there's also a bar that's called gain. You need to turn that to 0 dB, because it's probably set to 30 right now in the Windows volume settings, if you know where to find it.
I'm ready to leave.
Is this an HDR thing?
No, it's a...
No.
If you right-click your sound settings, find your microphone, and find the properties for it, and there's a volume tab and there's a gain tab. For whatever reason, Windows has a gain tab, and it's probably turned to 30 right now, plus 30.
Okay, can you stop Ben Shapiro motor mouthing me for just half a second?
I pay everybody to come in here to have shitty mics to
yeah, do you? Good.
He misspoke.
I did speak, yeah.
Okay, sound setting. Figure out where the fuck these things are. Okay, I'm here. Choose a device for speaking or recording. Then what am I doing?
When my attorney joins Zoom and sounds like this, I'm cooked.
Dude, you should hear what some of these sound like. All right, I'm at input volume destiny. What am I doing now?
Okay, are you on Windows 11?
Sure, I don't know.
You are. Okay, on the volume thing at the bottom right click it and click sound settings, okay? And then let me know when you brought that menu up, okay?
Okay, here I am.
You've done that? You brought up the sound settings thing, right?
I've done it.
Okay, now scroll all the way down to, there's gonna be a thing called more sound settings, and click that thing, and it should bring up a legacy window from older Windows.
Okay.
You found that?
Yeah. Open
Now
window.
go. Now you should see 4 tabs at the top. I think playback, recording, sounds, communication.
Okay.
Click recording.
Okay.
And find the microphone that you're speaking into. Do you see it when you speak? The bars are going up next to it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we're good. Right-click that thing, and then click Properties, and then click Levels. Do you see 2 different bars here? One for volume and one for gain?
I just see one that says microphone.
Then I don't know why.
They hit it somewhere. I don't know where it is.
No. It means there's not a... What kind of mic is this again?
It's oh god, let me find it. An
Wait.
AT2020.
Is there a gain... Wait, what is it plugged into? Is that a USB?
The Behringer thingy that I have.
Okay. An interface, an audio interface, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know what that means. Yeah,
Well,
it's a box that has knobs on it.
Yes, okay. Is there a knob that says gain on it? Can you turn that knob down?
There's mic, line gain, instant,
Gain. Turn that one
gain.
down.
There's 2 gain ones. You want the first gain?
Probably, because it's probably plugged into XLR1, so yeah. Wait. Not all the way. Go up like 50% of where you were at before.
Okay, how's that?
Okay.
A little bit further.
Is there a fader or a thing for the volume of that channel? Like
What? I've got an output knob and an instant gain. I'm looking at the front. There's a bunch of lights.
Okay, take it down
and-
like 20%, and I think you're good.
Is that good?
Speak a little bit more.
I'm talking more right now.
Okay, bump it up a little bit. Just a little bit.
Okay. Is that what you wanted to hear?
Yeah, this is fine. This is good. Okay. Okay.
Wait, what does this do? If I change this knob, how does that sound?
I don't know.
Does that do
If it's
anything?
the output one, it's lowering your output volume and not influencing your gain. But
Yeah, I figured that part out. I'm talking about the other one that has a other thing. Oh, wait, is that just for like another port? I think it's for a different port. Okay.
might be. Yeah.
Well, just
Okay.
talking loud. Okay.
Good? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. God, I know you did that to avoid having to address my arguments.
Well, we were talking about district court appointed dude, all that, right?
No. It was a new thing. I think it had to do with Hutch. God damn it.
I'm ready for my rhetoric flattening, honey.
My God.
Steven's been yelled at for 4 hours a day, dude.
No. Okay, so whenever you're like, oh, what could we do to like reform things so that we can prevent this stuff from happening in the future, right? So like there's an idea behind like fascist movements against liberal governments where it's like, if you're a fascist, you don't want to be president because that's not really how you enact your fascist your fascist power, because there's checks, there's balances that are going to get in your way. And so what you do is you go and you first take control of those checks and balances, because also usually those checks and balances are easier to attain than the presidency, right?
Okay.
It's easier to attain all of these
Yeah,
congressional
yep.
seats over
So
time,
like
right? Okay.
like gaining control of the Supreme Court, for instance, right? Yeah.
Right. And so the Supreme Court one is harder, but they happen to get it. And they're like, okay, great. Now that we have these things, right, we can get to where we want to. And so like whenever I talk, and I'm not asking for a huge discussion about like what we can do, but whenever I'm thinking about those reforms, right, I'm not really thinking about like what laws would I necessarily change to make things illegal or whatever, but think about like those checks and balances and how they can be put into a place so that you can't say, okay, like now that we've taken control of this checks and balances neutralized, right? And so to me, whenever I think about those things, it's about like putting those things
I hear people over here.
into the hands of non-government entities or even just the public, right? So like, you remember the Texas abortion ban kind of thing, where they basically made like a bounty system where they said, if you figure out that somebody's got an abortion or helped get an abortion, you can sue them for $10,000 in court and things like that. Do you remember this?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so like creating systems like that, and I can't, formulate one formally, or I can't state one formally right now, but things like that, where you're creating public causes of action that could incur liability and things like that, could be ways in which you would create a check and balance. And I think I've talked about this before when it comes to like news organizations and things like that, where it's saying like, you wouldn't need a government like review board. You would have like a public cause of action. Now, and so then that way, what you're doing is you're creating ways that you can check things without then like, okay, this person holds, you know, this much of the Congress, things like that, and you're able to kind of check it. And then the way you can do that is by dispersing that amongst the states rather than nationally. But I feel like I actually am, I want to run that by you because it's like, even if you set up something like that, you would agree, or you're arguing that even if that was a perfect system, we still need to hold these people accountable, or else they will just view these as things to overcome rather than like actual reforms that would change things for the better. Am I understanding your argument correctly?
What I'm saying is that the types of things, there are conversations we can have about ways to make our system better. Those conversations are not going to be addressing the issues that we're having with current Republicans.
Okay. And so if we, so are you saying that like the current Republicans then, because to me, the answer to that is then we need to exclude them from future political stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But when I look at that, when I look at the history and I look at like, say like the Tea Party and things like that, where I feel like a lot of the people that I am most worried about, honestly,
I just got
aren't
shut out of
necessarily
nowhere.
people currently in the political sphere. It's
Never
people
mind, I
like watching what's going on
They're
and how
in-
those people might change and enter the political realm and things like that, right? Like there's like a discussion around how like the right courted a bunch of crazies and stuff to get their votes, but now those crazy people are in political power, right? And so I think it's like one step saying like we can exclude these people that are currently in political power, but like as we go forward and we see like, okay, all these voters and all these people that support them, right? Like, do you think that, and I think you were memeing earlier when you were talking, I think with Connor, where you're like, we need to test people before we let them vote or whatever. But like, as far as like, do you think that a like true like test of people's morals and things like that, do you think there's like a period where we need to be illiberal to that degree? And I hope this isn't Fed posting, but I was wondering because like, to me, whenever I look at y'all's, like whenever I hear this solution you're talking about, I don't know if I even feel like that's far enough for us to feel comfortable going forward because of like, it seems like these far right people are willing to be like find people in the grassroots who are crazy and just throw them in there. And even if we clear the field right now, like what do you see as like that kind of like a solution for that kind of issue?
Okay. Are you asking me what my solution, broadly speaking, would be to kind of like the current issues that we have as a country, so that things don't repeat, I guess?
No, well, yeah, like because you're talking about current repeating and the issues there, but I feel like it's in a political sense, like just with the political leaders. I feel like
well, it's not just the political system; it's also the collaboration between the political class on the right and the media class on the right, and to some extent now the corporate class on the right. That this type of like top-down collaboration, like we have to find like aggressive ways to shut that shit down.
Okay.
And then yeah,
okay,
but that's a fun, like there are a lot of reforms I think that are good to talk about that I would also be super supportive of. Like every single thing that Hutch or IRI supports, I imagine I would probably support that too. But I think that supporting future reforms to strengthen our system to make things healthier, I think is also like a separate concept or idea. We need to find the fucking battery for this, okay?
I have no idea. I've looked for it.
Well, look harder, motherfucker. Is a separate idea, is a separate thing than holding the current people accountable for the things that they've done.
Okay. Well, that's fair enough. I don't know. It's something to me where like, when I look back at history at times in other countries like this, it feels like whether it's reforms or whether it's the reprisals and things like that, it feels like that stuff it never truly like stamps out the issue.
I found it.
Really?
And it's something
I feel like that's the thing historically that I hear repeated over and over and over again, that there is a huge criticism, I'm not as well versed with this, about like not going hard enough during Reconstruction or whatever, and that like when I look at like all my Israel talks and the things that all the Israelis have, you know, constantly said about like, well, you can't make peace with an enemy that hasn't been fully defeated yet. And then I look at like, how did Nazism get stamped out largely from Germany in World War II, and what was the big change for the Japanese system? Like these were like fully defeated enemies that were essentially forced to reconstitute their new governments in a way that complied with whatever the United States and when Western society wanted. Like, it seems like those are the only ways to do it. I don't know what the, like, super polite engagement successful way is, or what the... I don't know what our historical example is of that. If you have a single one, I would love to hear it, because I keep hearing people allude to stuff like this, and I never have an example ever for it, yeah.
Well, I think it's... Well, okay, so, like, I think it's, like, a really tough reprisal. And feel free to totally dismiss this because of how long ago it was, but it feels like one that's the most, like... I think it maps on a lot of ways of the civil war in Rome between Marius and Sulla, and I understand you probably don't know about it, but just real quick, Sulla wins. It's a civil war in Rome. He wins. He comes in. He's dictator for life. He does hardcore prescriptions, kills a shit ton of the political class against him, just like slaughters a lot of people, purges a lot of people, totally rewrites a lot of the system to try to rebuild the republic from the ground up, and all these things. And then within like 30 years, and then he steps down from the dictatorship for life, allows the republic to come back in, and then within like 30, 40 years, Julius Caesar says, who cares, I'm still going to turn it back into an authoritarian. And so it's like, to me, I look at that and I say, like, man, that is so much like harder and like more severe than I would want to happen. And yet people still were like, actually, fuck this, we're still going to come back to authoritarianism. And, you know, time and different cultures and all that stuff. But I don't know, it worries me because I feel like...
Well, hold on, wait. So that's an example of that failing. I understand that. But like...
Well, I'm saying, I feel like there's a Pandora's box there.
Well, but the box, like, my guess is... Well, hold on. If he hadn't had done that, though, because I don't know all about Roman history, but if he hadn't had done that, would Rome have been better off for it? Like, would they have actually survived for 100 years, or would it have been fine and a good system otherwise, or...
Well, no, that's fair, right? Like, it's kind of a thing where it's like the Republic existed at the time, and it was just that it was like, essentially there was a Donald Trump-like figure that was like, well, I'm within this Republic system, but I'm totally everything about it. So it's kind of like, would they have it? So it would be like they have a bastardized Republic rather than the true, like that, rather than the Republic that they idealized and wanted to exist. But I'm saying, like, in that sense, it's like they went so hard and there was so much pain that resulted from it that people still didn't take the lesson and were like, no, we're going to just keep having, we're just going to go back to authoritarianism. To me, it's like, I feel afraid because it's like Donald Trump now has let this kind of like the beast out of the box, and it's like, no matter how much hard we try, right, we are now set on a path for authoritarianism because people have seen that path, and like we can't put that back in the box, right? So like, to me, it's like, and so I was talking to Hobbit about this privately, and it was kind of a thing where it was like, man, is it like at this point, whenever people are talking about like illiberal stuff, it almost feels like it's like, well, I'd rather just have the authoritarian system that I agree with rather than have it that someone else agrees with, because there's no way to undo it.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
Okay. I mean, like,
get ready to hop down on one of these moves. Yeah, but we're gonna shoot first if we can hit shots, depending on where they're at. Oh, see him on the stairs over there? Get ready.
Yep, I see him now.
As soon as he go.
Ready?
Oh boy. Well, good luck.
What up?
You can let him leave if it's possible. Yeah, you're good. I mean, obviously there has to be like hold on, he's peeking inside.
Fucking Torrente dog shit. What is this gun?
Pull it, Boot. Can you survive to pull it? Oh shit, okay.
I couldn't, they were on me immediately.
Oh, another team showing up. Hold on.
If I was there, that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Come on, dude. Pull it. Bro, pull it. What are you doing?
Oh, it's another group.
Yeah. Bro, pull it! Why does this fucking loser sitting there for? Oh my god. Somebody pull it! What? These guys are retarded.
Yeah, big retarded.
Oh my god.
You got it. They didn't get in.
Good job, boys. Yeah, we shouldn't go too far. I don't know what the point of all that was, obviously, right?
But yeah, no, I know the obvious point there. I was just saying it's kind of a thing where it's like, it feels like, you know, like you've been saying, we need to go outside the system. It seems like there's like a call for going outside the system, but once we do, coming back and being able to kind of like reconstitute ourselves is the scary thing. But thanks for letting me ramble. It's just like, listen to you guys talk about that, really kind of just like been bouncing around. So, no,
sure.
You guys have a good one.
I love you. Be careful.
All right.
Dude, thank you for helping with my microphone.
No problem. I got you, buddy. We live talking to Taylor Lorenz. regarding the cringe bipartisan legislative. Oh, yikes. I think she asked me if I wanted to chat about this, and I didn't. I'm good.
You don't want to talk to Taylor around?
It's all my future
You're less
conversations with her
combo.
have to be like insanely combative because she's like one of the most like manipulative types of. Oof, can't do it.
But your combo with her was peak. It was a
though?
good combo.
By the way, I'm a paid Israeli poster. Mike from PA did actually expose this about me. I'm embarrassed, guys. I'm sorry, but they were paying me $7,000 per post, actually. So when I was tweeting 100 times, I was getting $700,000
Put him
for
on a
it.
glitch.